so I'm in this dialogue, and these women come in the restroom, and they don't know that I'm the comedian. I'm just, and one of them is like, God, it's been the hardest week. We were at the funeral home, and then we had to go to the hospital, and so is doing better, but it's been the hardest month of my life, dealing with all this loss and grief and blah blah blah. And she was like, I really need to laugh tonight. God, I hope the comedians are good. And I just remember thinking, I mean, I have goosebumps. And I just remember thinking, it is not even about you, Elaine. These people need to laugh. They are dealing with life on life's terms. It is hard to be a human sometimes, many times. And I'll never forget that, because I remember I just kind of went, whoop, and I was like, all right, we are going to have a freaking awesome show. And we did. And those people were ready to laugh, and we gave it to them. And that is the gift that we all have. We all have versions of that, whether you tell a funny story or whether you just cheer somebody up or you pass on a funny meme. There are so many ways to share joy and humor. And I feel like the world needs it now more than ever. So I am just so delighted that you're all here. And the intention was, I'll be sharing more and more bits of my story as we go along. But when I first moved to New York City, I got sober at the same time, which I would never recommend. And that's how I did it. And so I was very intense. I was like, I got to make up for lost time. And people kept going, whoa, you need to try some improv. Casting directors, agents, my acting teachers were like, you're kind of intense, Elaine. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I had no sense of humor. I was like, making up for lost time. I'm already intense. I'm in New York City. How much is water? What? $8.50. It was just I knew one person. And thank God I found comedy, and it helped me lighten up, and I started finally booking things. But so that's what I want to share today with you. And so thank you so much for taking the time. I really honor your time, and thank you for allowing me to share that experience with you. So I am going to introduce our first speaker, who I'm still pinching myself. I met this woman a year ago. I was at a retreat in Sedona, and she is this big, bold, gorgeous, larger than life woman. I thought, who is this woman? She has done so much. She has 2 Amazon best-selling books. She has a show. She lives internationally. She has created this amazing life that she has designed herself. And she did not come from, she has a great overcoming obstacles story. And I just fell in love with her energy, her joy to be. And she even wrote down, before she even knew who I was, she had written down a goal that I had said months and months before. So will you please help me give a warm and fabulous welcome to Samantha Buckley Huggison from Unsuck Yourself. Whoa, Samantha! Yay! I'm so excited that you're here.
Just so you know, I'm 56, so I'm much older than you.
Oh, much older. Yes. Well, you are much taller than I am.
I'm 6'2". Yeah, and it's funny because I've been working as a coach for a decade now, and I used to do it on Skype even before lockdown and all that stuff. It's my jam. I live in Mexico, and I moved here because I want peace, not traffic going to offices and all that. And so when people sometimes come down, like for VIP days or whatever, to meet me, they're like, oh my God.
It's so funny, Samantha, because I'm short, but I have this big personality. So when people meet me, they're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So
you have really great guns too.
Oh, thank you. I'm back in yoga. It makes me so happy. So I just, you have this great book, you have all these amazing clients. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey Because, it's easy. I think sometimes it's easier for people to go, well, she just has it all together. Yay, her. I can't relate. Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, come on. I think we all should know that the reason we have it together is because we didn't have it together, and we hopefully learned from that, right?
Yes.
Perfectly, do it imperfectly has been one of my, I'm a Virgo to boot, so I'm pretty critical. Got to do it perfect, yeah, my story's not great, and I say that it is great. My mom was married 7 times, so I don't know if you can recognize the dysfunction that 7. My sister still says 8, but since I'm the youngest, I don't remember.
Wow.
But you can imagine the dysfunction around that, right? And then I was super tall,
Right.
so that's awkward and weird.
I'm sure as growing up, you're like taller than all the boys, taller than all the girls.
Yeah, and I was flat chested forever. I
Which
was a
sounds like heaven, but
right? Well, now it does, because I'm just like, double, triple D, but careful what you wish for, girls.
Right.
Anyway, and so you do a lot of compensating to try and fit in, to try and not stand out, or try and be cool. And guess what? It does a lot of that. Humor.
Right.
Plus, it's just a whole lot more fun.
Yes.
I mean, let's be serious. Let's get real for a second. Humor is a lot more fun. I'm a total goof, and I'm fortunate now because I am 56. I would love everybody to love me, but the truth of the matter is, my vibe attracts my tribe. You either get me or you don't. I'm not for everybody, and that's totally okay, right? It's totally okay. When I wrote the book, so the book, I have this sexy blur on, right? So let me undo my blur so you can
It
see.
is a very sexy blur.
It's unblurred. Hold on, let me get the book.
Okay.
Okay. So I wrote this book, right? And I dropped out of school, like, my sophomore year, and then I went back and then dropped out again my junior year. So I'm a big quitter, right? So could you imagine me writing a book? Come on now. So I got help, and I think I mentioned this to you. So I got help from a ghostwriter. So I wrote the book and then I shipped it off. And then, like, for the last few chapters, they would interview me and then they'd put it into the chapter. And I'd get it back and I'd be like, what?
Right.
This doesn't even sound like me.
Right.
This doesn't even sound like me. It needs to sound like me, because I'm not telling anybody anything that's not already out in the world and out in the universe. And, I didn't invent this shit. I swear, by the way. So if there's
good. We embrace that. There might be some F-bombs dropped.
Yeah. Those also
Cautionary
make me happy. So yeah, there's the cautionary tape, because swearing makes me laugh. I think it's funny. But anyway, so I remember getting the book back, and I'm going, what the fuck? This isn't even me. And turns out my ghostwriters were quite religious and very like this. I'm like, I really should have researched.
Which I think is
better.
hilarious. And I'm sure it was painful. I'm not laughing at your pain, but
you should laugh at my pain, because it's a great lesson. Right.
What a great lesson. And so many times I've done that, where I'm like, okay, I'm finally going to commit. I'm going to commit. And then I hire somebody and I'm not clear on what they're doing or who exactly they are. I finally made the decision, and I've done that, a few times. So you have these Christian people trying to write your.
Right. Bless their hearts. And I'm famous for ready, fire, aim. Like,
yes,
let's do it. Let's do it.
Yes.
Because it's that whole do it imperfectly thing, right?
Right.
But the good news about that is that I view everything as a lesson, as a gift.
Yes.
Even that shitty stuff from my childhood, which is pretty horrific. I mean, I don't write much about it,
right?
But but everybody has a story. I'm super grateful for it. Do I wish I could have got the lessons of what not to do differently? That would have been great.
Sure.
But my personality is pretty much, well, not now, because how old am I?
56.
56. Pretty much I've learned to learn from others and not have to, take all the shit myself.
I love that. I love that, Sam. And so were you able to finally kind of find your voice clearly, because it's an Amazon bestseller in several categories? So you were able to kind of go, okay, thank you. And
Oh, yeah, no, I started, so yeah, I started to kind of just push back on, no. Well, it's not grammatically correct. I don't give a shit. I really, I need you to capture my voice,
love
because
it.
that's my uniqueness.
Right,
My uniqueness is how people, and that's why I say I'm not for everybody,
right.
you know, but there's 7.2, 7.5 billion people. I'm for enough people.
Yes. Yes. I love it. I love it. I
So
love it.
yeah, so
So
that's my story.
so
And
that's a great lesson. And tell us, so you have this juicy, hunky boy husband.
I do. Thank
And
you.
you know, you mentioned something the other day, and it was so funny because you know, I've seen you on social media and you're like, this is my best friend, and you have this juicy marriage, and you've been together for a long time.
23 years, and we got married after 10 months. And we lived in different countries, and he had never even lived with a girlfriend. And we were in our 30s. Like,
Whoa.
talk about when you know.
Oh my God. But you were
Right?
saying how after, you know, all the different things, you've lived different places, and but you use humor.
He's so funny. And he's not for everybody. Trust me. I've learned this. His sense of humor can be quite offensive to people.
Right.
He makes me laugh, you know, and he really makes me laugh, like belly laugh. He pisses me off too. Let's not pretend that it's all sunshine all the
And
time.
rainbows and unicorn. Yeah.
But it
But
is
I think,
sunshine, like more than 60% of the time, more than 70% of the time. I tell my clients it all the time. I go, what? Welcome to life. It's not always 100% great. That would suck. You wouldn't even recognize great if you
yep,
don't
you
have
gotta
a little
have,
bit.
sometimes
You
you
got to
gotta
have
have
a,
that. Yep.
you know what, right? I loved when I was growing up, the Matterhorn. Do you guys remember the Matterhorn?
Yes.
Yes,
The
it's
little
so
circle.
fun. And then you'd start going a little bit sideways, and that was the funnest part because you're squishing whoever's on the inside, you know. So
Right.
life's
Yeah.
fun
And they
with
always had like
Matterhorn.
cool air blowing on you in Texas, and they had fun music. I love that.
Thank you.
I love that. And
And
I love that you were sharing how like you guys make each other laugh, because
I was thinking about last night. We were laughing so loud in a restaurant that people were staring at us. I'm like, I don't care. I'm not being offensive to them. I'm laughing over here.
I'm laughing with my honey. I love that. And so tell us, Sam, so I know that you were living someplace like north and cold, and you know,
Okay.
tell us a little bit how you created this whole Cabo thing.
So I don't know if everybody knows that I live in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, and I've been here 15 years. So ready to get excited. I don't know if everybody knows where I moved here from, but I moved here from Whistler, British Columbia, a beautiful ski village. Yeah, I'm getting like, right. So how amazing is my life? And I was born and raised in Seattle, Washington. So what I've just told you about is 3 different countries, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the work I do is about life design, and I see there's coaches on here because I recognize some of you. And so what we know as coaches is that we're looking through the windshield, not the rear view mirror. That I love my therapists, you know, they help me look through unpack my, rear view, the trunk. We're going forward. So I made a list of what I really wanted in my life after, reaching huge corporate success and banks and that security that I craved as a child.
Sure. Yeah.
You create it for yourself. You don't rely on anybody. I don't need anybody. Yeah. So success to me was that I can do it. You just watch me. Anyway, so success to me was a big corner office, a giant paycheck. I flew every week to my other office in Dallas, right? No life. You have no life.
Right. It is your whole identity.
So I quit this really fabulous, by the way, job, and jobs are fabulous if you're good at them. And I was really good at this job. I was a VP of sales and operations for this giant company, and it was doing all this yummy, nice work in the world. But I was miserable. So I was sitting there on the floor of the Dallas Fort Worth airport with my giant, like this was 24 years ago. So it had my giant Dell laptop that you get good guns just carrying that thing around. And I wrote, what do you really want, Sam? Like, what do you really want? And so I made a list, and there was like maybe a dozen things on it. And there was things like, I want to work where I live. In other words, I'm over this not sexy being on a plane every week, living in hotels. So fuck that, I'm over it. So excuse my language, but anyway.
Okay.
So, and I want a man that adores me and makes me laugh. It was on there. And I wanted them to be taller than me, because my current boyfriend, by the way, I had a boyfriend of 4 years who's a super decent human being. I just want you to know, super decent human being. There was nothing wrong, but he just wasn't the one.
Right.
So, and I want to make this much money, da, 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 da. Rolled up the note, put it in my drawer, kind of stayed home and nested and fixed my, house that I'd bought with all this money I was making that I never got to enjoy, la, la, la. Went and got this weird job for a while. And long story short, my boss, who became one of my dearest friends, introduced me to my now husband. She said, I need you to meet each other because you're two of my most favorite people in the world. So he happened to live in Whistler. I happened to be a new golfer because I'd broken up with that boyfriend who didn't think I should golf.
Oh.
And guess what? I'm over 30, no kids, got my shit together, and I golf. Of course.
Perfect.
Of course he's going to marry me.
Right.
So that's it. That's how I got to Whistler. I just, and I got everything on my list, by the way, within a year. I manifested, whatever. Everything on my list, except he's not taller than me. Yeah. So we were there, and it was only supposed to be for like 6 months, because being from Seattle, I love sunshine. The gray bums me out. I'm sorry, It bums me out.
Yep.
I have to travel if I can't do it. So snow's beautiful if you're in a ski resort, right?
Yes.
And mud season's terrible. And
Yes.
summer in the mountains, stunning. So the 6 months turned into 7 years and 2 kids later.
Woo. Okay.
I came down to Cabo, which was my go-to since like the late 80s. And I came down with my youngest one, and I was sitting here, and this guy I'd known since I was like 19 recruited me. He's like, you need to come. And I was looking at his team, his sales team. I'm like, I trained him. And they're working 4 hours a day, making easy 6 figures. I'm like, honey, it's my turn. We're moving. And he had to. So that's how I do it. I said 6 months or 6 years. Our kids are 2 and 4. Let's go. There's not a better time. Just pull it. Let's go. Because here's the thing, in my opinion, you're never too far down a road that you can't turn around. Right?
That's so brilliant. You're never too far down a road that you cannot turn around.
That was it.
Yeah.
It's like, go do it afraid. Who cares?
Do it afraid. I love it.
And so we did. And everybody said he wouldn't last 6 months. And that was 15 years ago. And now we've got 3 properties here. We're never leaving.
Wow. Cool. And then you still pop up to Washington.
We bought a house in Washington because my kids, I'm stalking them because I adore my children. And I knew when gringo white kids grow up in Mexico in a small resort town, they have no clue how amazing their life is here. They really don't know.
Right.
So I knew they'd go back to Canada, which is great because the education's phenomenal and affordable.
Right.
So they are, ones are back in university in British Columbia, and the other one, their number 1 school is also in British Columbia, which I'm half an hour away from. So I'm stalking them.
Right? I love it.
Yeah. So we have a house up in the mountains on a lake that we spend our summers in, and it's by design, right? We really, really wanted it, and we get to go golf and work, right?
And work. Yes. Yes. And
So
you said something the other day, Sam. You said, I said, how did you get over, the 7 debt, your mother and the chaoticness of that doesn't even need to be spoken about. And you said, I did a lot of therapy.
yeah.
You said at one point you had achieved some stuff, but then there was more work to be done. So like you did the work.
Well, okay, so that's the thing is that I did the work and it's nobody else's work to do. It's only my work to do.
Yeah.
Right? Because I ended up marrying my own abusive alcoholic, by the way. My first shot was,
Right.
and I
We
stayed.
we vibe what we know.
Yeah. Well, even though I didn't want to, and I stayed in that abusive marriage and it was bad because I didn't want to be a failure like mom who's, walked away from all these marriages and it was
Right.
never her fault. So let me tell you the beautiful lesson in that. Because it was never her fault, I went, Sam, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
If you want to break this cycle, you need to take responsibility for this and figure this shit out. And so I did, and I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah.
But I feel pretty good about it because how old am I?
56.
56. So wow, I've been divorced for 30 years. Been divorced for 30 years and yeah, married for 23.
Wow. That's so great, Sam. Thank you. And because I think as someone who I always like to know, how did you get out of the valley? How did you get out of the mud? That's always the part that inspires me the most. And so you've built this, I've been to one of your events. It was
You
amazing.
were, it was so fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
It was so fun. I could feel your energy. And I keep wanting to, I'm going to order your book tonight, because I've been wanting to for a year. And I just think you're the bee's knees. And I know that you worked for it,
It's hard work, but it's not that hard. It's hard running races. That's hard. The concept of lacing up your shoes and, getting on the track, that's easy. So we just lace up our shoes and we're going to fall and pick each other up. And you know what? People really aren't watching unless you have some epic fall that's funny.
Right.
Nobody's really paying attention, and to tell you the truth, if you do have some epic fall and everybody is paying attention, they'll admire you for getting up and rebounding. Right.
Yes. That's so true. It's so funny. Like I remember I was getting ready to go to this, this amazing trip to Portugal. And I was really stressed out about my shoes. And after 2 days of running around and getting blisters, but not caring because it was so beautiful and all the hills, I remember thinking, nobody cares. Like nobody cares. I'm just some middle-aged lady from America checking out the site.
Bad white runners, old lady
cares,
runners.
And it was, that's why I love travel, because sometimes it just frees you up. So, all right. So Sam, I know we only have a few minutes. We have, and I'm just so excited. Tell us, I know you have a free gift for people, or people want to know more about your juicy, fabulous self. How do they find you? What do they do?
Oh, so I would say my free gift it's a 30 days from good to great daily motivation. Just delivers to your inbox, and it's kind of like, what about this? How about this? Where are we going? How's that? Have you tried this? It's fun, it's short, it's easy. And so my website, write it down or somebody can type it.
It's already in the chat.
Shut up.
In the chat. Yay, Justina.
Oh my gosh, look at that. You guys are awesome. So yeah, that's my
30 days of good to great with Sam. I love it.
Right. And the book, it's all over the website. Whoa, so you can't do this with these lights.
I love it. It's it's unsuck yourself, but really it's implying
unfuck.
Right.
It's also the guide to designing a life you love. And let me just tell you, it's on Audible too, but let me tell you that when you get to chapter 3, there's actually work involved. So I can't even tell you how many people say, I got to chapter 3. It's like, okay, remember, you don't think your life different. I mean, that's a step.
Right.
But we do need a little bit of action on your part if you'd really like to change your life, right? Just signal, universe,
and
take action.
you know what I'm gonna say? Give yourself permission to write in the damn book if you need to, right? Because I think
Yes.
what happens is if I'm a Virgo rising, I'm like a Pisces, but I get
Oh,
like this whole, oh, I should have a nice journal. No, I should just use a notebook. No, I should keep the book pristine. No, just write wherever you can write. Do the work. Do the work. It can be
yeah,
messy. Write in your book. My artist way is scribble. Like the books I love are like, yeah.
right in the book. And
Love
also
it, love
on
it,
the
love it.
website, the book will direct you to the website, and the website has a download notebook.
Oh,
So you
cool.
could even like print it
So
out.
lots
that
of
way.
ways to engage with
So
you.
easy, but you ink it, don't just think it. That's
Whoa.
really important. Really
I love
important.
it. And I want to open it up because I know Kathy Keegan knows and loves you, and see if we have any people with questions. My fabulous, amazing client Gail Gruenberg, the organizer who does Make Space, she's fabulous. Anybody have any questions for Samantha? And
Hi, Rhonda.
Oh, Samantha, I'm a serious fan. I already opted into your stuff.
Mwah. Thank you.
Hey, Samantha, I have a question for you.
Okay, let me put my glasses so I can see you. Yeah.
Okay, can you hold on?
You
Can
look
you see me yet?
amazing. Oh my God, you go, girl.
My friend. Okay, so what was the hardest thing from transitioning to where you were and to go into where you live now? Like, what was the biggest transition that you just didn't see was going to be something about how hard it was to go from one place to like a whole different type of culture? And not just being a vacation place, but actually, like I'm living here.
Okay. So that's a great question because, as you know, I've done it twice now. I moved to Canada and I moved to Mexico, but I'll give you the most recent one, which is Mexico, is that Mexican time's a real thing. I remember like the first day I got here, okay, I'm going to go open a bank account. I'm going to get my phone hooked up. I'm going to do, oh no, you're going to do one of those things this week. So, and the Mexican culture, it's very true. They're so lovely. Like, they're so lovely that they'll say, yes. Okay, can you do this for me Thursday? Yes. Thursday, you're like going, it's Thursday. Yeah, no, I can't do it today, but I'll be there. They just say yes to everything because they're just so lovely. So that was it. Once you make a decision, it's done. Universe will conspire with you to make it happen. If it's for you, won't miss you. So
I love that. Great. That's great, Rhonda. Yeah, because it's always different visiting versus living.
So different living.
You said something else the other day, Samantha. You said, if it's meant for me, it won't miss me.
Right.
I just love that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like, you can settle into that sense of trust. Yeah. So awesome.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Nice to see you, Rhonda. You look great.
Yeah. She's powerful. Anybody else? Questions? Comments for Samantha? Kathy Keegan?
I was going to say, Kathy.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh my gosh. I went from being kind of a little bit flatlined to alive again. So thank you so much. It's just so wonderful to see you both. And and your story is incredible. And I love what you said that, and I can't remember the quote, but it was just, I'm here because of I wasn't there, or something you said so much, because I'm so good at remembering things.
Sounds really good. I don't know what I said. Somebody else does.
It was just something about, it was the trials and the tribulations are the things that get us to where we are.
Right.
If we're able to work through them somehow, some way.
We're always able to, because the truth of the matter is we're all still here.
Right. And
So
we arrive at, I arrived at a more positive mindset. I wasn't born that way. I was definitely like, life sucks and then you die. And so that's changed over the years. I don't feel that way at all anymore. So I'm just so grateful. This has been so wonderful. Thank you guys so much.
So great to see you.
Thanks,
Kathy.
Awesome. Well, anybody else? Oh, Noreen. Woo.
Hi, Noreen.
Hi, Samantha. Lovely to meet you.
You too.
So I have a question. This is coming from a person who Elaine can tell you is very intense, serious about life, cares about people, all this stuff. And I've always struggled to, as Elaine would say, find my funny. So like
But
you
you're
give me-
laughing, so look at you, you found some right there.
yeah. So, you give me a problem, I'll support you in solving it. That's me.
Amen.
So, so I want to ask you, when you have faced all these challenges that you've just been incredible about sharing,
Thank you.
did you find humor in the moment or more retrospectively?
Retrospectively, but I'm gonna swear again, so mute it if you don't want to hear this. Now, as a 56-year-old, I do a lot of, for fuck's sake, really?
Okay.
And that makes
I
me
know.
laugh. It's just like, oh my God, really? Okay, here we go. I want to give you something though. What Elaine and I think is fun, or Kathy or Rhonda, or, whatever we think is fun might be very different than what you think is fun, right? Like people that love chemistry, they're like, it's so fun. I'm like, no, it's not, but it is for them.
Yeah,
Right?
I quit a medical career because of organic chemistry. So.
Okay. So, but do you see where I'm going with this? So it's just your level of fun, and it might be how you tweak. Well, this is fun. Look at me. This is fun.
Mhm.
Rescuing people, rescuing dogs, taking care of the world. It's fun, right?
Right.
It's fun. Just laugh, force yourself to laugh a little bit to get the breath, because then it just like,
Mhm.
so there's that. No, in the moment, it sucks.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
also-
usually resort to singing when I need breath because that's my past training. I was going to be the next Barbara Streisand. Obviously,
Me too.
I'm not her. So, oxygen is really important for singing, but so that's where I go rather than humor. But, I'm at a stage in my life where a little humor would be a good thing.
Okay,
So
well,
thank you very much.
I'm going to give you one more pointer, and then I am going to stop sucking up everybody's time. You know what you do as a singer, because I'm a singer as well, because I was going to teach music in school to boot, obviously super healing, but I quit. Anyway, is that sing as loud and off tune as you possibly can.
Ah, yeah.
You will laugh your guts out, and do it with others. Like my husband and I do it. We'll, and my kids, we used to do it in the car. You'd hear the four of us, the top of our lungs, just like, I will go on. It's so fun. And my kids do it. And my kids now are 17 and 19. They do it in metal, death metal. It's awesome. So that'll make you laugh.
Well, thank you very much. I have a musician as a son who's incredible, and Elaine can share, but so he's really like he's like, it's amazing how things are taking off for him. And
Right.
if I were to, and he's here with us right now temporarily, and I think if I were to do this, he'd be like, Mom,
That's
are you
perfect.
doing?
That's perfect. That's why you do it, so that he
Yeah.
can look at you and go,
yeah.
It was
But
funny.
anyway, thank you so much. It's been
my
delightful.
pleasure. So
you.
nice to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Nice
thank
to
you,
meet
thank
you.
you. I love it. Samantha, thank you so much. Let's
Thank you
clap for
so
her.
much. Thank you so much for letting me hang out with you. Gosh,
Well, it
I'm gonna stay for a little bit longer. if
Okay,
I
cool.
can.
And we're putting your links in the chat. So everybody save the chat in case you miss it. And just thank you so much for gracing us. And I just love your big, bold heart and your generosity. And I love how you're like, I'm not for everybody. And that's okay. That's something I am still working on, but we're all works in progress. So, I love
Mwah.
that. Thank you. Thank you, Sam, and
My
everybody.
pleasure.
Put some
Thank
love in
you,
the
guys.
chat. Woo! Okay. And one of the things, so I worked with Judy Carter, who she was a magician, and she was a touring magician. And then one day they lost her luggage, and she had to go on without her props. And she was funny, and she was like, oh, this is so much easier than magic. And she became a comedian, and now she is a comedic motivational speaker. But one of the things she does for her speakings is she has her audiences learn a gesture, like 1, 2, 3, yes. And so one of my favorite things is to go my arms apart, looking into the sky, going, are you kidding? because I just feel like it's irreverent. I'm not cussing, but it's just a great way to release the stress when life bites you in the ass. You know, you have those days where you're like, oh my God, you know. So feel free to take one of those. Are you kidding? Or come on. And it's just, you know, they've done studies that people that were allowed to express during pain were able to process the pain better. Of course, I don't have it right in front of me, but I just love that. I think that we are meant to express. Look at babies. My God, they project. Those kids can project, right? And then we learn as we get socialized inside voices. And so that's one of my passions, is to help people find their voice. And so anyway, so woo, okay, if you need to get up and stretch, if you need to get some water, we can have dance breaks later, but I am going to keep this party rolling. I do want to mention that I have a fabulous VIP upgrade that I am so excited about, because we have more amazing speakers like Samantha coming. We have 10 more. And you can do the VIP upgrade. It's only $97, and you get the recordings. You get a 30-minute call with me. We can work on your TED Talk, your video series. We can look at your social media, do an audit. And you get a video masterclass where I'm doing a deep dive into TikTok and Insta. We're talking short form and how to find your funny. And that does not mean you have to dance or tell jokes. There are so many ways you can be a shepherd of humor, and you do not have to do this scary stand-up stuff, but there's a million other ways. So that is the chat. I know Justina will be putting it on through the day, so you just have to sign up. And that way you get to keep listening to all the juicy good and letting it, you know, integrate, because sometimes there's so much happening. I love to listen to things when I clean. So anyway, it's one weird thing about me. All right, so are you guys ready? Can I get an amen? Whoop, whoop, whoop. I'm so excited. This next woman is coming, and she is just hilarious. I saw her through Polka Dot Powerhouse, and she is just irreverent. She did a book where she cussed. That seems to be a theme. She tells it like it is. She's not afraid to just be her authentic self, and makes no apology. And she's funny, and she's a dog mom. She's an intuitive. I'm messing up the intro. Sorry, Elaine. Her name's Elaine. So of course I love her. Elaine Terso. She's a launch strategist. She's real and raw on TikTok. She has an irreverent book where she used caution tape in the things, and she's an intuitive business consultant, and she's just a badass. Let's welcome Elaine Terso. Woo!
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh my God. And we kind of match. How fun.
I know. Look at that. I love it.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here. Ever since I met you and did our first connect, I thought, who is this woman? Oh my God. And I know you used to be like a boudoir photographer, but I just love it that you're like, if it's not fun, I'm not doing it.
Yes.
And can you just tell us a little bit about your evolution? Were you always this ballsy? You know, how did you get here?
No, I was not always this ballsy. I will tell you that, because I had fear of offending people.
Yes.
I did. I had fear of offending people. And when I was a boudoir photographer, I decided to do this project with I was a part of the Seroptimus Club, which is their whole message is around human trafficking and domestic violence and stuff like that. So I decided to do something offensive to bring awareness to it. And I created a calendar called Dudes Against Human Trafficking. And I had men posing as pinup girls. And boy, did I ruffle some feathers, right? And I was scared. And then I had to come to the realization that if they're offended by men's thighs and not offended by women being trafficked and children being trafficked and whatever, they're the problem, not me. And I also do not control if someone else is offended. Being offended is a choice. It is their choice, not my choice. The other thing I realize is that causing offense creates conversations. And so that was that. So I did not always have the balls that I have today. it was through that experience that really kind of propelled me into this zone of uncomfortableness that really helped me grow and I just decided I was going to offend people on purpose. I was going to offend them on purpose. And if I offended you, then I did my job.
Wow. I love that, Elaine. It cracks me up. So people were offended by men's thighs?
Oh, yes. And the cool thing about Seroptimus is it's a whole lot of retired women, you know, who are looking to volunteer and stuff like that. And boy, were their feathers were a little ruffled. How dare I? But we raised a lot of money and all towards the education around human trafficking and stuff like that. And so I was scared, but I talked to an author who lived down in Oregon, and she was very big in the human trafficking space. And I talked to her on the phone, and she really was the one who was like, good, offend them on purpose, just switch. Like, instead of being afraid of offending people, do it on purpose, do it with intention. And that was like, oh my God, it completely was that life-changing conversation that I needed to have, because I was so afraid of what people were going to think and what they were going to say. And I had to just decide I had to get over my damn self. I had to get over my damn self.
Ah, I love that. Oh my God, I love that so
Mhm.
much. It reminds me of, I used to speak about addiction and alcohol awareness, and I would use humor, and I never made fun of anybody else, but I made fun of myself and my family. And people every once in a while would get offended, and I learned to embrace it, because I thought, you know what, maybe that's going to get them to go to therapy. Maybe that was the wake-up call they needed. And I would rather make a difference than have people just do that golf club clap of, well, where's the chicken? I need a drink,
Right.
kind of thing. So
Right. Yeah.
I love that. And now, and tell me about the book, because when you're telling me about this book, I was like, I love this.
Yes. So I've written 2 books that have the F-bomb in the title, as well as my middle finger is on the cover. It's a big giant FU to everyone who's offended, honestly, right? So the first one I did was, it's called Getting Unfucked and Then Getting Naked, and it is about body image. And I collected stories from women in all walks of life, and I gave them a platform to tell their story. It was also a workbook. It had positive quotes, and it had coloring pages, all my favorite things. And it's huge. It's a giant workbook. It's ginormous. And the whole premise was to love yourself exactly the way you are. You don't need to change. You don't need to, and you have the power to rewrite your story. So going from, victim to powerful, right? And not being a victim of your circumstance, but rising up and choosing to love yourself regardless. And that we have the choice to rewrite our story. So the first time that I decided I was going to, and the whole reason that I wrote this book, by the way, was because of Polka Dot, I had a vendor table. I was a photographer. What the hell am I going to sell? So I wrote a book, and it was ridiculous, you guys. It was absolutely ridiculous how quickly I put it together, because I was like, oh crap, I need something for this vendor table. And then I was afraid I was going to offend people. So I decided if I make it funny, then people will be less offended. So I put up caution tape. I put up caution, F-bombs ahead signs. And I had emoji stickers with the shocked emoji that they could put on the book if they wanted to. Like, I was trying, how can I make this funny so that I don't offend people? And then again, I don't care if I offend people. Like, it's ingrained, right? As women, we're supposed to be seen and not heard, and, don't cause waves, and don't.
It is so ingrained. I believe it's in our DNA, part of our survival. So
yes,
I love that. And how was it received? Like, were most people like, this is great?
Yes, I have a lot of pictures with a lot of Dot sisters, and we are flipping the bird, and we are just having a good old time. It allowed other people to give themselves permission to be themselves, because I was like, hey, I'm going to show up and be myself. So it's okay for you to show up and be yourself. And so that was really cool. And then it was funny because I didn't realize it until later. I love my mother. However, comma, I wrote this book to give my mother something she would not talk about. Okay, my mother is the proper Christian woman. And, you know, my grandmother might say shit, but never the F word, right? And so
Right.
my mother, and growing up, it was this funny, like how this like memory came, and I was on like live talking, and this memory came flooding back where you know, back in the day, if you're a Gen X, you know what I'm talking about, the long phone cord that your mother could take throughout the entire house.
Yes.
And my mother was talking about me to her friends in the bathroom on the phone, and I could hear her. And I decided to come stomping out of my room and declare, I can hear you talking about me. So I decided to create something that my mother would not talk about. And that was right. Whoa, right? Like big, like light bulb moments going off. So then I decided to do it again. And the second time I did it specifically for entrepreneurs, and it was called the Entrepreneur's Guide to Getting Unfucked, Getting Out of Your Own Damn Way, and Getting Shit Done. And again is lots of, I did some interviews. I repurposed a whole bunch of content, all of my best tips, and again, workbook, again, coloring pages, and again, my middle fingers on the cover. So super, super fun.
I love it.
Something that I decided, I was like, you know what, I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. I use profanity in my business. And like Samantha, I don't care if people don't like me, that's okay. I'm not for everyone. And I have finally come to terms to accept that your approval is neither desired nor required. Thank you to Wong Fu for everything, right?
Wow. Oh, Elaine, I love that. I mean, it's, you know, I didn't know your whole story, but I was just drawn to you. And like, I just love your TikToks. And, you know, we were talking earlier this week, or we did a Facebook Live, and she was saying how she doesn't plan it. She just thinks, oh, I want to talk about this. Because it was, you were losing your authenticity, right?
Yeah. I tried too hard. And I was really deliberate about my content, and I would, you know, create my whole beautiful Instagram grid. No. So I stopped doing it. I stopped caring about the grid. I stopped caring about the appearance of my Instagram. And I just decided to post whatever the hell I wanted to, whatever the mood striked me. And that's what I do now. I don't care anymore, because I was just talking to one of my clients yesterday, and I said, she was like, I have to do video. And I said, let me ask you this, Bonnie. I said, have you ever gotten clients because of a video? No. Have you ever gotten clients because of a Facebook post? Well, like one. And I was like, what do you get how do you get clients? And I'm sure most of us on here could say it's the one-on-one connection. It's the having a conversation is what the content that we put out is really just a way to let people know who we are and what we do, but it's not to sell, it's to connect. It's to create a relationship. It's to build community. And when we're focused on sell, buy my stuff, it turns people off. So instead, tell stories. Instead, be yourself. Let people into your imperfect life, and they will be more drawn to you. And then you can have really great conversations. And then it could turn into a client now or later. It doesn't matter. But I'm not on Facebook and TikTok and whatever to get clients. I'm there to help and serve and support and offer and guide and all of that kind of stuff. And if they want to just consume all my free content, that's what it's there for. That's what it's there for. Use what you need, right? And I'm here if you ever need me. Like that's kind of my attitude around it.
I love it, Elaine. Oh my, I'm like, ditto. Yes. Underline exclamation point. Yes, I mean, it's the beginning of a conversation.
Yes.
And, you know, obviously you want to feel good, whatever that feels like for you. But there are some days there's no makeup. It's a yoga day. My hair's back, right? Whatever. And I'm like, there's this. So Elaine, if you don't follow Elaine, you got to follow her on TikTok. Elaine the Brain. Is that it? Okay.
Mhm.
And she got this dog as a gift for her husband, but really the dog is hers. And it's the cutest dang dog. Is it a French bulldog?
It's an English bulldog and her name
English-
is Lola.
English bulldog named Lola. And I mean, this dog is adorable. So there's a lot of, there's some footage of the dog, and there's Elaine's in the bathtub. And you see, and you don't see Elaine naked, but and you see the dog, and she's like, don't do it, don't do it. And before you know it, Lola has jumped into the bathtub, and that's up to like 10,000 views. And
Yes.
and I love it. But to me, that's funny. That's life. That's like real life stuff. And that's who you are as a person. And like our lives are messy. Our lives are messy, and
Yeah.
but we get to see that part of you.
Mhm.
One of my mentors, she did this whole thing where she was in the bathtub and she put the bath bomb in, and like something weird happened with the bath bomb, and it went viral. And in some ways it was cool, but in other ways it brought up a lot of critics and crazy people. So it's interesting. I think people get all wrapped up in numbers, and it's like, really, it's just social media is about starting conversations and letting people know who you are and what you stand
Yes.
for. And
Yes.
and it's not there's a lot of stuff that comes from it. So I love that. So tell us about what you do now,
Yeah.
and the
Well,
authoring. And
yeah, it's actually 3 years ago. 3 years ago that I decided to retire from photography. And I actually was just sharing that story this morning on my Facebook because it came up in my memories. About the moment that changed everything for me was this wave came over me. I was at Polka Dot Powerhouse. I was doing the event photography, and photographing groups is the equivalent of herding cats.
yeah, it's hell.
And I did not like who I became in those moments because I was very snappy. Come on, hurry up. We're waiting for you. Like,
Stop
oh,
fighting. Get
Yeah.
over there. Right.
we have a lot of people in a very small window of time. And it was very stressful, and I didn't like who I became. And all of a sudden, this wave came over me of, what the hell are you doing? This is not bringing you joy. And it was in that moment that I found the gift of permission to let it go, permission to step into my next phase, my next season. And I retired from photography after 10 years, but I was looking to everyone else to give me permission to quit.
Oh, I can relate to that.
Myself,
Woo!
right?
Yeah.
I gave it to myself. It was the best gift I gave myself. And then
Because if you're good at it and people know you, it's like
Yeah.
you realize, like, woo, this may be harder than I thought. Shit.
Right. Yeah. So it was the thing that I needed to do in order to get me to where I am now. And I have found my sweet spot, right? So I'm a business consultant who does done for you services. And I utilize a software to help business owners with the back end of their business. I call myself the wizard behind the curtain, right? I'm the girl that will do it all for you so you can focus on your zone of genius and you don't have to stress out about it. And I help you organize and automate your business so that you have more time to spend with your friends. And I just had Elaine got to see my friends themed booth at Celebration for Polka Dot. I had a friends themed table because nobody wants to talk about technology. It's scary. So
Right.
Again, how can I make it fun? How can I make it, something that a lot of people love is friends. I'm addicted to friends. I'm not even going to lie about it. Like, if you know me, you just know that that's who I am, and you either love it or you don't. I don't care. I like what I like. So I had a friends themed table just so that people would say, what is going on here? Because then it allowed me to start a conversation and ask them about what do they do? Because not every person is going to be a good fit for me. But if I ask you, tell me about what you do.
Right.
It just opened up that conversation. So I love conversations. I want to have conversations. I want to connect with people on a personal level. I want to get to know you. I'm not trying to sell you something, it's just like, so that's what I do. Is I love to help other entrepreneurs, and I utilize a lot of my, I have an intuitive situation going on here. I call them pop rocks. That's why my nickname is Elaine the Brain. Do you get it now?
The brain,
Right? So I don't know, Elaine, I don't know if you ever went through this, but as a kid, I didn't know that my name rhymed with brain until much later in my life. But I was Elaine the Pain, who went on a train and went to Maine, and nothing cool. Nobody ever said anything cool about my name.
Elaine the Insane. I mean,
Yes.
and I was Elaine the Pain. Yes.
Yes. And so it was like, oh my God, finally found something cool that rhymed with my name. And it just so happens that it fits because I have an intuitive pop rock thing. So when I talk to business owners, I get downloads of ideas and things that they could possibly try in their business. And so that's really, really fun for me. And then I get to help them implement those ideas.
I love that because yeah, I get pop rocks too about like, oh, you could do this video and and it's so fun. And I love that you help the implementation because for a lot of us, that's like where the rubber meets the road.
Right. That's
where the rubber
Frozenville.
meets yeah. And so, oh my gosh. So does anybody want to ask Elaine the Brain any questions from her magnificent brain? And I see a dog's tail, but is that Lola or is
that's Jax, who is
Okay.
coming over begging for treats that I do not have at my desk because I ran out and I haven't gotten a new bag. And so, yeah, Lola's over here with Paisley fighting over a toy.
Oh God, I love dogs so much.
Me
Well,
too.
let me know, Justina, let us know if anybody has any questions in the chat or anybody wanting to ask Elaine about, yeah, Elaine, you're so awesome. Best advice for rebranding or changing businesses or professions? Yeah, because you've done it. That's a
So-
great question.
Yeah. So here's what I say about all of that. Brand you as yourself. Okay. So I wear many hats. I love to do a lot of different things, right? But my umbrella is Elaine Terso. And then I have You Can Automate. And then I have my books. And then I have Polka Dot Powerhouse. And I have all of these things, but I am my brand. It's me. So it doesn't matter what you do. You are your brand. People are going to want to do business with you. It doesn't matter actually what you're selling. They're coming to you to support you as a person. I don't care if you're selling lipstick. I don't care if you're selling a service. They want to support you. So just brand you. Who are you? And do it imperfectly. There's no such thing as imperfect or as being perfect. You got to take it off the table because it doesn't exist. Right. And so I have tattooed on my wrist, perfectly imperfect, as a reminder to myself that I have to show up imperfectly, that I am not going, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. So once I take perfect off the table, then I can show up as my authentic self and not give a damn.
Oh my God, I love it. Woo! Preach, sister, preach. Yeah. I feel like that's something I bump up against. And I know that's why I was drawn to comedy and humor. There's nothing worse than having your agent say, oh, you need to look absolutely gorgeous today. Like that's what the day when the hair was frizzy and I had broke, and I'd been up the night before working. Yeah. I mean, that is the pressure of that was just not fun. Oh
Take
my
it
God.
off the table. Take it off the table. Yeah.
I love that. And I love that you had like that giving yourself permission.
Mhm.
I feel like that's what I do with my work on camera stuff is helping women give themselves permission because I think we get conditioned to be the good girls.
Yes.
And to be, seen and not heard or whatever. Don't ruffle, don't be bossy, don't do this. And so I love it. Now, Elaine, I want to ask you, because to me, you're just a freaking badass. What do you do when you have a bad day? And maybe you've done it on TikTok and I just haven't seen it, but like, what do you go take a bath? Do you go dance around? Do you go do mindless TV? Like, do you have any super secret cool tips that you want to share with us?
So I call them my attitude adjustments. My attitude adjustments are music. So I will put on my my rock music because I am the headbanger. And I will listen to my music. My favorite thing to do, I'm not even gonna lie, is as a photographer for 10 years, I worked every freaking weekend for 10 years. So now that I'm an empty nester, my kids are all grown up, don't live at home anymore. And I have lazy Sundays. And I literally just lay in bed with the dogs and I don't get out of my pajamas. I have a robot vacuum cleaner I just turn that on, right? And I don't do anything. It's my lazy Sunday. And my husband knows. He's like, lazy Sunday. I'm like, yep. Right. And he doesn't expect me to do anything. I just get to relax. Because in years, I didn't. I was glued to a computer, you know?
I love that. Or I know what it's like to work weekends. Like, you know, I was in the hotel and restaurant business and comedy club business. So the weekends are like, you're so, you know, sometimes you're working 30 hours in 3 days and longer. I love that. Lazy Sundays, or like, I hope you don't mind, like, we were just in this amazing thing in Denver, this celebration, and the leadership team was there even a day or two before. And I mean, by the second part of the second day, I felt like I was toast. Like, and I was only there for 2 days, but I felt overstimulated, over caffeinated, you know, I could just, because I haven't been into anything like that since COVID or whatever. And I love that you took an extra day to like lounge and hang. Like, I feel like that is so important too.
Yeah. It was nice to just lay in a bed and put on movies with my bestie and just like do nothing.
Yeah. I think that
there is so much power in doing nothing, you guys, like for real.
I love that. You know, that was, I got to go on this amazing trip to Portugal, and I remember thinking, space, that's what I need, because I love what I do, but I can be on Zoom from 7 in the morning and I was like, Elaine, you've got to like get out in the world more. So
yeah,
I love that, Elaine. So I know you have a special gift for us. Tell us how people want more of you and your fabulousness. How do they do it?
Yeah, so I created an app. Remember I talked about I give away all the free content. I put it all into an app. It's called Elevate Your Online Presence. And you can download it, and it's got a lot of my TikTok videos are in there. I've got replays of all of I love to teach. Workshops are my favorite thing ever. And I literally give away the farm. I can't help myself. I give away all the secrets. So the gurus tell you not to, and I say, F the gurus, I'm going to do what I want to do. And so I give away the farm. So enjoy.
Wow. Thank you, Elaine. So that the link is in the chat, and tell us if they want to come find you on TikTok. It's Elaine the Brain
Terso. And I'm on Instagram and all the other places and whatever, but that's where I hang out the most, is TikTok, just because people are so creative and I learn so much. I learned so much on TikTok. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, you know, and I love that. And while we're wrapping up, I want to tell everybody, I had this judgment, like, I'm 54. The TikTok is for kids. I've been a professional dancer, but I don't want to spend the time and energy learning a dance. And, you know, I had all of this like judgment. TikTok has been mind blowing. There's political stuff happening. There's social movements happening. There's embracing whoever the hell you are. I'm excited about cooking. There's recipes, there's workouts, there's all kinds of stuff that you would never think. And I, you know, one other tip, and I know you'll agree, like, if someone says, oh, it's so negative, you can curate that.
Yeah,
so
you get to curate your own algorithm.
Yeah, so just keep scrolling. If somebody irritates you, who cares? Just
girl, did you see my skit I did about that?
Yes, I loved it. How are you?
That's all you gotta do. Just swipe up,
right? The best thing you can do is ignore them. But yeah, I have found, and I have actually found similar stuff on Instagram of just like so much creativity.
Yeah.
And I obviously that just lights my fire, you know, but I love the whole self-expression, even if I don't agree with all of it, but I find it inspiring. And so well, thank you so much, Elaine. Is there any final parting wisdom you want to share about ballsy or humor or Lola? Or
just be yourself, like literally, that's just be yourself. Oscar Wilde, right? Be yourself, everyone else is already taken. I have that up on my wall as a constant reminder that I don't have to be anybody else but myself, and take it or leave it. I don't care.
I love it. I love it. Well, let's everybody. Thank you, Elaine. So I'm going to tell you about this next woman. Oh my God. So I do a lot of communities, a lot of networking, and I kept hearing this name, Innovation Women. And I thought, that sounds cool. That sounds really cool. And people kept, when I hear something come to me 3 times in a row, that's always like a sign. And then I studied this woman who had created this group, Innovation Women, and I was like, oh my God. Oh my gosh. She's had her own PR and marketing firm forever. She has created so many cool things. She has a TED Talk, and she's a huge stand for women getting on more stages. She's tired of the male and pale. Let's everybody give a warm welcome to Bobby Carlton. Woo, Bobby! I know you're like, oh my God, it might be too much. Woo, but so excited to have you. Thank you for being here. I know you're so busy. Wow.
Hi,
Hi.
Elaine. And other Elaine.
And the other Elaine. And one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, Bobby, is because you lead with, you're so humble, and you have a great sense of humor.
My reputation exceeds me.
I just feel like you have this great sense of, like, you've done all this stuff and you're like, yeah, I've done this stuff, but you're still for like the little guy, the little girls, like you want us to be on stages. And I just love your mission. And, tell us how you got so fired up about that.
Oh, I usually tell people that Innovation Women's a product of me being pissed off. So,
Yeah.
you don't want to piss off Bobby because she goes and creates another company. I have a bunch of companies and Innovation Women is number 3. So I'm not a serial entrepreneur. I'm a parallel entrepreneur. You have to think back to like, 6th or 7th grade science for that one.
Okay.
Parallel circuits versus serial circuits.
Okay. That sounds like technology. No.
Yeah, no, it is. But I literally started Innovation Women because I saw a need. 2/3 of all conference speakers are men. And by the way, that number is actually worse than it sounds because it includes all of those conferences that are women conferences where the majority of speakers are women. So there's like some conferences on the other side that are balancing that out. So yeah, it's worse than it even sounds.
Oh God. And I have to tell you, I feel like I'm 54, and I always feel like I'm sort of late to some of the parties, but I'm here, but I remember looking at a brochure for some kind of event in New Jersey, and I remember having this thought, and this is like 15 years ago, of just like, wow, it's all guys. Huh. And I had like a little bit of like, and then I thought, well, maybe you don't know, I discounted that anger. And now I'm like, I'm sick of it. We need, and same for comedy. My God, if I hear one more male perspective, please. Yeah.
Yeah. I once went to a conference that was so male heavy and so much of a desert for women that every time I went to the ladies' rooms, the lights would go on.
Because there was no other women.
There were no other women there. Either that or they were holding it.
Wow. And so when did you start Innovation Women?
I did the crowdfunding to buy me some developers in 2014.
Okay.
And then we launched the platform in 2015.
Okay, cool. And will you tell people about it? Because you'll explain it better than I do, because I'm still learning.
Yes. And one of the things about Innovation Women is we call it a visibility bureau, not really a speakers bureau. Like a speakers bureau will hold your hand and they'll book everything for you. We're like, I give you the tools and you are going to rock it. So the way that Innovation Women works is 2 different kinds of people join Innovation Women. On one side, there is what we generically call event managers, and that includes podcasters looking for guests, ERGs, corporate employee resource groups that are looking for workshop leaders, big conferences, little events, journalists looking for subject matter experts. So we generically call them event managers, basically people looking for speakers.
Okay.
And then on the other side are speakers. We have about 2,000 speakers, mostly women, but a handful of very secure male allies. You know,
Woo.
if you are a guy and you want to belong to Innovation Women, who am I to stop you? And, you know, what kind of DEI initiative would I be if I was kicking somebody out of my thing?
Great point.
So you bring together these two different groups. The event managers can invite the speakers. And on the other side, the other direction, Innovation Women members can apply for speaking opportunities on the platform. So that's it, kind of a basic, but we have all kinds of resources. We have Speaker Friend Fridays, which is like the highlight of my week. Basically, picture this group and 50, 60 women all on a conference call every Friday morning, just talking about being a speaker, talking about all the things that go into it, being an author, doing your marketing, your business model, being an awesome speaker, and having a whole group of people that's there to support you.
Yes, I love it. I mean, I was, you know, to be honest, I was a little intimidated at first. I was like,
Oh.
wow, these, and I kept thinking, I belong here too. I belong here too. And then I did connections with many of them and have just, they've been, most women have been so generous and cool. And like, I was in Denver and I met this woman, Sylvia Scott, who was
Oh my
just
God.
adorable. She has done everything. We had dinner and I was like, and then what'd you do? And then like, she's been in fashion. She's been a mentor for young women. She's done like, she's lived everywhere. And you know, I said, how did you meet Bobby? And she said she was on a board with you. Just phenomenal human being. Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of amazing women on Innovation Women. And really the goal for us is to make it easy for event managers to achieve gender equity on stage. And, you know, obviously a few years after I started Innovation Women, I'm like, duh, I really kind of should have been broader about this whole thing, because it really is about having diverse voices on stage at conferences and events. Number one, more interesting conversations. And number two, like we need these opportunities. We need to get out there. We need to be visible. We need to be seen as thought leaders and experts. We really need this time on stage to come into our own and have the opportunity to tell our stories.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And I feel like you've always been like a trailblazer, Bobby. Did you have a moment, you know, were you ever timid or, you know, what did you have a big like da 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 da? Are you
Oh,
faking it or
yeah, there's a lot of that actually. So my day job is running a PR and marketing firm. The night job for, well, since like 2008 is an event in the Boston market called Innovation Nights. And Innovation Nights, every month we would do an event and we would help launch local startups with their new products. And I started this thing kind of as a way to play with social media in the early days of social media. And I created this event. I brought all these startups together and, you know, a big audience and everything like that. And I swear to God, it wasn't until like 5 minutes before we opened the door that I realized, oh, I'm going to have to present. I'm going to have to be the MC. I'm going to have to get on stage because I'm an introvert and my job was to get other people on stage. Like literally, that was my whole career. I would get executives on stage. And by the way, first 20 years of my career, never had a woman client. So I have a lot to make up for, a lot to atone for. But back to that night, April 2009, I literally like sweated through my shirt. Thank God I
Oh,
was wearing a blazer. Like if you've ever seen broadcast news and they're like, bring out the towels, like that was me that night. And of course, this event, we were promoting it as a social media powered event. Bring your smartphone, take pictures of everything, tweet it out, post it online. So what's posted online everywhere in the world? Sweaty pictures of me. If that isn't an incentive to get your act together as a speaker, I don't know what is. It's like quite literal hot mess.
yeah,
And I'm like, I spend years training speakers. I need to attend to myself, clean up your household before you try to clean up the world.
right.
So
Oh,
I did. I spent a lot of time, and there's nothing that succeeds in public speaking like practice.
yeah,
And every month I had to do the same thing. Like we did 130 events before the pandemic kind of brought the event world to its knees. So
wow.
I was on stage every month doing the same thing. And perish, what is it? Get better or perish, sink or
Yes,
swim.
trial by fire, baby. Trial by
Yeah. And, you're doing the same thing in general. Like, yeah, the companies change and, it's different theme nights and stuff like that. But you get good at it. And then you say, okay, I am comfortable with this now. I am not sweating through my clothes. I am not bright red face. My hair isn't sticking up. Well, maybe it is. But you start to expand and you start to say, I need to get better. So I'm going to go to school on other speakers. I'm going to watch what they do. I'm never going to do that. Maybe I'll take some of that. You learn, you talk to other speakers and you practice and you try things and you see what works and what doesn't. And
right.
boy, there's a lot of doesn't work in my
Uh-huh.
history, but after a while you get better at it.
I love it. I love it. And you still, so you were just in Austin speaking at a tech conference,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Forrester is an analyst, industry analyst group, and they invited me to be part of their pre-event. So a lot of events will have like, these are the days of the conference, and they have shoulder events either the day before or the day after, and they'll run
Right.
special programming on those days.
Okay.
So I was able to be there for the special programming day, focused on women and leadership, and then also attend the conference.
And you said it was heavy male.
It was definitely heavy male. They had about 500 attendees and 200 online, which is one of the interesting things about what's happened over the last few years. Is
Right.
you've definitely gotten an expansion of the online and hybrid options.
Right.
And, it was like the technology industry. You are definitely seeing fewer women and people of color on stage and in the crowd itself,
And in
just
the
the
crowd, right.
attendees. So the more that event managers do to get more diverse people on stage, the more communities they tap into, and perhaps, they can start to make a more diverse audience as well.
I love it. I just love your mission. It's so great. And how do you deal with it? So you like have because you have your PR thing by day, and then you have this magazine that you got to also feature innovation women people, and you work with your husband. So do you use humor sometimes? I know he's just down the hall, right?
Right there.
Do you tell
Yes.
jokes? Do you watch comedy? Like, how do you not kill each other?
You know what? It's funny. My husband, number one, he's my hero because he stayed home with the small people until they were no longer small people. And by the way, if you've ever met my two boys, they're decidedly not small people. I'm 5'10", and in my family, like, I'm tiny and petite.
Oh,
In the
wow.
real world, I am very tall and very large, but in their freaky world, I am tiny. But my husband stayed home with the boys until they no longer needed his, every waking moment attention. And, at that point, he had a problem that a lot of women have. Like, I have been out of the workforce for 15 years. What
Yeah.
have you been doing with your time, mister? And, I think sometimes almost an easier answer for women. They can say, I stayed home with my kids. When he said that,
Yeah.
we go down the path of, you did what?
Sure. Although I think that's happening now more and more, but yeah,
Yes.
it sounds like he was being a trailblazer and
Absolutely. 25 years ago? No, it
no,
was
right.
not as common. And at that point, we said, okay, you can work for me. And for years, he stayed home and worked at home, even though we had an office for the company. So
Right.
we were doing remote work and making it possible for people to work remotely way
Or it
before the
was cool.
pandemic.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so when we all came home too, I kicked him out of the good office. So now he works in the dining room.
And now he's in the
I took the nice office, which, by the way, wall.
right. Yeah.
It's just about cube size.
It's just
Uh,
perfect.
but we are doing our thing all day long. He very definitely wears headphones all day, to not have to listen to me.
Right.
Which, and that way at the end of the day, we can both emerge from our little caves and say, hey, how was your day? It's good. How was your day?
Cool. Awesome. Awesome. I just am always fascinated by people that work with their spouses. I think that's so cool. And Bobby, you deal with, like, you have a lot of team that you deal with.
Yeah.
And do you use humor when there's tension?
Oh gosh, absolutely. I'm my humor is not for everybody. It's a bit of an acquired taste. But it's funny, my older son says, you are so funny because people don't expect you to be
Right.
funny.
Right.
And I was like, so I'm funny because I'm not funny? How does that work? I think some of it is unexpected. Like I like the aside humor.
Yes. Yes.
Like I will be da 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 saying a thing, and then little side comment,
Right.
which for speakers can be so powerful
Yes.
because when you drop your voice and you speak to the audience as an aside, it's like you're taking them into your confidence. And they
Yes.
lean forward and they want to hear what you have to say. And it's still a challenge to try and do that because you have to take into account laughter and applause and things like that. I have seen so many speakers who say hysterical things that no one ever hears because they haven't taken into account applause and laughter.
Yes.
So as a speaker, like that's one of the things that I recommend to people. You need to be very aware of the audience interaction. And if you're saying something funny, you might need to hold it for a second.
Pause. Yes.
Hold it in and then push it out.
That's
Because
so great.
pauses are so powerful.
Yes.
You mentioned earlier that I had done a TED. I have done a TEDx. They are two different things. There are people that get very upset about that.
Okay.
But I did a TEDx kind of at the last minute. So the story there is one day I'm driving home from a meeting and my phone rings in the car. I don't hands-free. I'm very good, very well behaved. I answered the line. And it was a young friend of mine who goes to Suffolk University, or did at the time. And he said, I'm part of the committee that is doing a TEDx here at Suffolk, and we would like to invite you to be one of our speakers. And of course, my immediate reaction to that is, oh my goodness, my moment has arrived. I'm so excited because this is like the ultimate for a
Right.
speaker. Like one step up, TED. Yeah, I will take a TED invitation anytime, but
Yeah.
TEDx is good too. And I'm like, of course, I won't let you down, like I'm there for you. When is it? And he said, Tuesday. Like, and no. TED and TEDx, if you're unfamiliar with it, like people prepare for these things for months.
If not
Months
years.
and months and months. You have coaches, you have people to help you, you're workshopping ideas on like, this is a process. This is not hop on stage in 3 days time thing. And I'm like, and no, we're out. Like, I make a living doing this. I have a speakers bureau. I have a certain amount of stature in the industry. I cannot embarrass myself with this.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? I'm sure there are some members of Innovation Women. I mean, remember, we've got like 2,000 members. Sure, there's somebody on there that is actually prepared and, how do I say this? Reckless. Yes, reckless. You would have to be reckless to do this. Reckless enough to stand up and say, I'm prepared and I will do this in 3 days' time. And I did. I found 5 reckless souls who were willing to step on stage with 3 days' notice. And I handed over the names and they said, yeah, none of these people do it for us. We still want you. I'm like, we talked about this. And he brings up you said you wouldn't let us down. Oh, that's not fair. That's so not fair. But I did it. And, in retrospect, absolutely, if I had had more time, there are things I would have done and done very differently. But in the end, I feel like I didn't embarrass myself too much. I do this a lot. Obviously, I have a story, I have phrases. And by the way, they did not want me to talk about Innovation Women.
Oh, wow.
They wanted me to talk about Innovation Nights, my second company, which is something they were more familiar with. But I still managed to sneak in Innovation Women at the end. And, I did it. It's not too awful or embarrassing, but I'm going back to my original point. I swear I had a point, which was it's all about the pauses and the cadence. If you are listening to a TED or a TEDx, they have beat it into everybody's brain that you need to slow down. You need to take the breath. You need to use pauses effectively. And they do such a good job that it's actually a cadence that you can recognize. Like if you've heard 1 or 2 TEDx's or TEDs, you will probably recognize that cadence. And all I did to prepare myself is the first day I did nothing except listen to other people's TEDs. And it helped me so much.
Wow.
And I still remember those lessons. I still remember the cadence. I still remember the importance of pausing. And if you have trouble with pausing, if you're a speaker who has trouble with pausing, I suggest you have a drink. Not to like take the edge off or anything like that, but it's a great way to pause.
Yes.
Like literally, that's a second or 2. It's not long, but it is a way to make yourself stop.
That is brilliant. I love it. Drop
little lessons.
And I love that. And, because I have this sort of, oh my God, but you have this, you do these little side comments. So like several of my friends say, oh, Elaine, I'm not that funny, but I always feel like that's something you can work with because not everybody needs to be over the top. 5 guys walk into a bar, there's lots of ways you can make little side comments or do things. And sometimes we laugh because it's true, right? We laugh because we're surprised. We laugh because we're shocked. We laugh because we can relate, and we laugh because things are true. And so, it does not everybody has to do it. Like there's lots of ways to, I feel like, cultivate humor. So I love that. And yeah, learning to not step on your laughs is such an art. I remember I was having a really good set and I had to keep like taking deep breaths because there was so much laughter coming, which is such a wonderful, luxurious problem to have. But I remember I was like, whew, it was so great. And anybody who wants to work on your speaking, watch some comedians. There are comedians who will use taking, pauses and using taking a drink of something to take a moment too. So that's awesome. Well, Bobby, if people want to know more about you or Innovation Women, how can they find you? What do they need to do?
Well, innovationwomen.com, definitely. Very easy. Join one of our Speaker Fridays. They're open to anybody. Come on in. It's a good conversation and a good time and a great way to connect with other people. And I will also say that, I'm very Googleable.
I love that. I'm Googleable. That sounds kind
Yes,
of
but you
creepy.
do have to spell my first name right. So
Oh, right.
Bobbie, because there's actually a Bobby Carlton,
Wow.
and he and I are on a committee together, and it's
Oh
just the
no.
funniest thing. Like, we have practically nothing in common except for the fact we have the same name, and this particular committee. And we were on the same committee together for 5 years. And no one ever mentions to either one of us that there's 2 Bobby Carltons on this committee.
That's funny.
And I'm
That's
like,
really random.
it's totally random, like craziness. But yes, if you find me, with the IE at the beginning of or the end of my first name, you will find me. If you find Bobby with a Y, he'll send you to me.
He'll send you to me. Okay, cool. And does anybody have any questions for Bobby about Innovation Women or what she's up to, or any yeah,
People
pauses
are
are
like, we're
great.
tired watching you.
No. I look forward to joining. Cool. Yeah, awesome. Oh yeah. So what are your Speaker Fridays?
Yep.
Cool.
So Speaker Fridays is actually a relatively new name for the drop-in chit chat that we have every Friday morning from 8:45 a.m. to 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern. And you come in, we have a 15-second countdown timer so everybody can do their super quick introductions. And by the way, that we started earlier now because there are so many people, it's hard to get through the introductions. So we only do introductions until 9, and then we get into meaty conversation about being a speaker, about doing anything related to speaking, whether it's authorship or marketing or speaker business models. Most common question. Want to take a guess, Elaine?
How much money do I charge?
How much do I get paid? How do I get paid? How do I find paid speaking engagements? There's a theme.
Yes.
So it's just drop in, the link is the same. If you sign up for our newsletter, which is basically innovationwomen.com/newsletter, you can get the code or the link to the Zoom call sent to you at like 8:30 in the morning, so you can be ready for 8:45. And it's the same link every week. So if you can't join one week, just pop it into your schedule. You can join the next time you're available.
I
But
love it.
we actually renamed it Speaker Friends, I want to say about maybe like less than 2 months ago. And it stems from something I say a lot, that speakers need speaker friends. The most successful speakers have friends who are speakers who are maybe a little ahead of them, or maybe they've gone off in a slightly different direction, but they're doing the speaking thing. And getting that feedback from other people who are speakers is just so important. And I've been doing this like drop-in time for years. And I never could come up with like a good name for it. And I was like, Innovation Women Coffee, Innovation Women Friday Chat, like all of these different stupid names. And then all of a sudden I was like, it's Speaker Friends. And everybody's like, yes, it is Speaker Friends. So name is out there. So yay, can't change it now.
It's so great. And it's Wendy Babcock. She's speaking later. She's an innovation women person. And I've told Noreen, I've talked about it to a lot of people because I think it's just great. There's a lot of generosity of spirit. And there's just some really great women on there and all different levels. People who've been, $1 million speakers and people who are just starting out. And it's just a great, framework. And you even are you still doing the one for the West Coast people?
I literally just dropped that into the chat.
Oh,
So
okay.
once a month, first Friday, we do a Friday noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific speaker friends, just to try and make it a little less, oh my God, time of the day for our West Coast buds.
Nice.
And I will tell you, this morning I was talking with a couple of big West Coast tech firms, and they're both talking about putting a large number of tech women, like super geeky tech people, into Innovation Women. They're like, so would you be willing to do more speaker friends on a West Coast friendly time? I'm like, how many people are you putting in? Sure.
For you, darling. Yes. So
Yes, for you and your cybersecurity people.
yes, I think I know, like Elaine Church, like there's several people I've said, well, you have to get up really early. So that'll be awesome.
Yeah. And by the way, like so many people do show up from the West Coast and they just don't turn on their camera. We're like, that's okay. You can do that.
Right. I love, some people say I'm not camera ready. So I love, okay, we have one final question for you, Bobby. Best advice for managing many companies, businesses without being overwhelmed.
Who says I'm not overwhelmed? I have a great team. Seriously. Like it's not just me, it's a whole team of people. And I just hire people that can do the things I can't. Like we have designers, I draw stick figures and they look sad. Like we have marketing people, I'm more of a PR person. Like we just have people that do the stuff I can't do. And by the way, I love my team. They're the best. And I would be very lonely without them.
That's great. Yeah.
Insane. I would definitely be insane. I would just go right off the deep end.
Yeah, it's all about having a great team, isn't it? So awesome. Well, thank you, Bobby. Thank you for your time and your energy and your heart. And I hope that I'll see everybody from here on Friday. And I just really appreciate your time. And you've said yes to me. You were going to be on my podcast before we decided to put it on the shelf for a while. And just thank you so much for being willing. So,
and I can stay a little while, right?
Of course. Oh my God. We would love to have you because of course, and first of all, let's give a big round of applause for Bobby Carlton. Woo! Bobby with an IE. Woo, 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 woo. Innovation Women, Innovation Nights. Ooh, she's got like a fancy. Awesome. It looks like a life raft. I love that.
We actually have a logo like this.
Cool. Awesome. And one other thing I love is you can come to the Fridays for free. And then if you want to join, you can join. Like, it's like, just come play. And she does Clubhouse and, rewind. Okay.
Rewind. No, we gave up on Clubhouse.
Okay.
When they opened it up to everybody, it got messy.
It got crazy. Yep. That happened. So, all right. Thank you, Bobby. Woo! This next lady, I met her through my friend Gail Scott, who has helped me with makeup and image. And she kept saying, you got to meet this woman. She has this whole platform called Cool Life. And she is all about normalizing aging because we have this insane culture with all these triple standards for women. We're all supposed to be organic and perfect and perky and all that stuff. And so I started checking out this woman and I've had several conversations and I love her stuff and I've become a writer on her platform. She has an MBA. She has founded this huge platform that's all about Second Act Sisters, and the mission is to help normalize aging. So she has a whole crew of thought leaders, women-driven band. It's Cool Life with the K-U-E-L, Cool Life. She does trips and retreats. Please help me give a warm welcome to Jack Perez. Jack, I'm so excited. Here she
Thank
comes.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, we're okay. I don't see you. Are you coming in? Hopefully she's coming in.
I'm right here. You can't see me?
I can't see you, but I know that there. Yes. Woo! Okay. Awesome. Yay. You look gorgeous. Oh my God, you look gorgeous. Oh, well, now you're muted. Okay. That's okay.
Did you mute me?
No, here we go. Okay.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes. Okay. Awesome.
So I'll go ahead and not bury the lead and just lead with the fact that I am effing funny, but I am funny in a very bizarre way because my brain works differently than most brains. So people are talking and my brain just like figure something 3 standard deviations from the mean, and I can't help myself. I have to interject whatever that observation might be. And yeah, I think that's pretty funny and people find me funny. So
and you sometimes I bet you don't have a filter. Is that true?
A filter. Oh, you mean not a visual filter to get rid of the wrinkles? Yeah, no, I don't have one of those.
I love that. Well, I love your mission because Noreen and I were working on a project and we were talking about looking for stock photos. And I cannot believe in 2022, this is still the case, but so many times there's the 20 somethings and then there's the grandmas. I'm like, where are the cool and sexy 50s and 40s? Like, where are we? Come on.
Yeah. I will tell anyone who sits still enough that there's a huge chasm between mini skirts and Depends adult diapers. And that's literally where my cool life and our cool life resides, thrives, lives. Yeah. I mean, just because maybe you don't feel so comfortable showing off, all your leg, but you're definitely not incontinent, right? So like, seriously, people, I think it was Elaine who said she started her business because she was pissed off or ticked off. Is that what you said, Elaine? I think so. Or I thought it was, or maybe it was Bobby who said that. One of the women that was speaking before me, and I started Cool Life really for selfish reasons, because when I went through that menopause transition, all of a sudden I started not liking what I saw reflected back to me. And I felt I was getting smaller and smaller and smaller and more pastel. And listen, I am anything but pastel. I am definitely not everyone's cup of tea because I am incredibly out there and very bold and very, I mean, you could say loud, you could say aggressive, but you could also say, I speak my mind. I'm assertive, I'm confident, right? Because there's always a yin and yang to any adjective that you can describe something or someone, right? It's like the positive and the negative. But yeah, I when I went to go try to help myself to figure out what to do about all these insane effing symptoms that I was having during the menopause transition. And by the way, every other human on the planet, if they're lucky, goes through this transition, by the way. It's not some disease, it's not some plague. It literally is a normal function of life and of being a woman. And I get it. It's a different time and place because in the early 1900s, the average lifespan of a woman was 51. So guess what? Most of us didn't live much past menopause. We didn't really have to worry about defining that space. If you think about it, the boomer women, the Gen X women, and even the elder millennials, we get to define what that looks like. We're at the helm. We get to figure out what the sea change is for us. And we get like that extra 20, 30, 40, 50 years of life that we didn't get before. What are we going to do then? Right? Are we going to rock here and bake cookies for our grandkids and knit sweaters? Hell no. No. We're going to travel the world. We're going to skydive. We're going to climb mountains. We're going to start businesses. We're going to dump our husbands if they aren't good enough, and we're going to start over again, because we can still play the long game at this age. We do not have to sit around waiting for the end. And I didn't want other women to feel alone, because isolation and lack of connection is more deadly than smoking a pack of cigarettes a day.
Yeah.
So let that one sink in. Right?
That's so true. I mean, that's we're having that happen, the COVID stuff, right? Like there was an article yesterday in the New York Times about kids that are back in school. Like there's a lot of repercussions from homeschooling or whatever happened. And I'm, no judgment. I know that I was so grateful that I had a place to go to, but it was really challenging, and I wasn't having to homeschool. But yeah, I love that, Jack. I love that. What are we going to get to do, and how do we get to live it? And I'm 54. My boobs have gotten out of control. I'm like, what the hell is happening? And I'm so many times I would go to my meditation group in the mornings in Montclair, but I couldn't talk about that in a co-ed group, so it's been great just to learn I'm not alone, and there's lots of things, and I don't have to go to some Western male doctor. I want to talk to other women who've been through this, because go ahead.
And I figured the best way to normalize aging, and I'll give you an example. Anyone who decided to be a breeder, right? Like if you didn't, more power to you, but I decided to be one. So at this stage of life, we're either dealing with teens or we're dealing with them preparing to leave the house, right? And here's a great example. There could be a woman out there who has her passport in one hand and a suitcase in another as she drops the kid off and cannot wait to get her life back. And you know what? That's normal. There could also be a woman out there who is grieving the loss of that child from her home and really put a lot of her eggs in that one basket and put a lot of her own identity into that basket of rearing that child. And it's devastating. And there's a grief, a real literal grief that goes with it. Guess what? That's normal too. And the only way that we can normalize all of these things that happen in this season of life is to share our stories with one another so we can learn from each other, and also to play. We got to make it fun, because listen, if you can't make fun of the fact, you were talking about your boobs, Elaine, do you know that my boobs are basically like two empty socks? Basically. Two empty socks. I mean, they used to be full and wonderful, and now, if I'm doing a push-up or a plank and I look down, I'm like, what is that? And is Sam gonna come and stuff them? But he doesn't. So I get it. And we have so many opportunities and challenges that present themselves during this season of life. And we're not just talking the physiological changes, which are varied and can be really hard to get over, but we're also talking about the transition of parenting. We're also talking about so many women after 50 decide to ditch whatever it is that they were doing and start a new business, or they get back into the business world because they're done with their kids. Most divorces are initiated by women after 50. So what does that mean? Fast forward a little bit. Well, those women are going to start dating again. How do you date with a dry vagina? Right? I mean, there are what if your parents are aging and you have a teenager, and at 3 o'clock your teenager in the morning steals your car and you're dealing with the police report, and then like a couple hours later you get a call from the facility that your mother fell and broke her hip.
Right. Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, it is a challenging time, but at the same time, I don't know about everyone else in this room, because I'm 58, and every year that goes by, I give less F's what anybody else thinks. And I grow more and more comfortable in my own skin. And instead of becoming invisible, I get louder and bolder and more in your face. And my mission is to get the media, to get those big brands. I want to see women who look like me in the flipping yoga pants that I wear, and who look like me with the mascara that I wear.
I love it, Jack. I love it. I just knew Gail was like, you have to meet this woman. And I've gotten to write 2 articles for your platform. And I can't wait to check out more of the, you have a lot of thought leaders and you do a lot of things to lift people up. But yeah, it's time, I just was watching Jamie Lee Curtis, who is just a phenomenal, and I love it that her hair is gray, and Jane Fonda finally let herself go gray. And I think we need to see that, because we're not ready to get, my sister and I were going through all these old slides, and we were like, oh no, because it was like all of these women with like not flattering glasses, and they all had like gray hair, and they just looked, and they probably were like late 40s. And I was like, I will resist that. And she was like, me too. I pray to God that I'm like speaking when I kick the bucket, or doing yoga on a beach, or coaching, like I want to go like being of service, helping everybody else. I don't want to sit around,
100%. And just to speak to that, the gray hair, it has to be okay. And here's the deal, ladies. It has to be okay for women to let their hair go gray, and for them to not choose cosmetic procedures. And we have to support that and make sure that we constantly make sure that crown stays on that head. But at the same time, it has to be okay for the women who choose cosmetics procedures and choose to color their hair. That has to be okay too, because here's the deal. Divisiveness is going to make it so we can't normalize aging. Divisiveness is what they want. If they keep us divided, if they keep us mean to each other, if they keep us, with that backbiting, then you know what? We're not that powerful. But if you stop for a second, the sheer number of us, the sheer number of women in the baby boomer, Gen X, and the elder millennials, we outnumber every other cohort on the.
Wow.
So if we stick together, if we put our voices together, our collective power is basically undeniable and unstoppable. And that's what I'm counting on. And that's why I built the platform. And Elaine, when I first built it, I was the sole contributor. I was the only one writing for the platform. Now I have almost 60 women from around the world who are experts in their lane, whatever that is, whether it's empty nest, whether it's divorce, whether it's dating, whatever that is. And they bring their value to that platform every month. And it's just this wonderful amalgam of relevant, highly curated content for women in midlife and beyond. But what's so amazing is that half of our audience is below 45.
Really? Oh, I love that.
What that tells me is that our younger sisters are curious. They want to know what's coming. They want to be prepared. I wasn't prepared. I don't know about anyone else in this room, but my mom did not talk about menopause. I didn't even know what the heck it was. And in hindsight, I now realize I had perimenopausal symptoms when I had a kindergartner, because I chose to start parenting really late. And so I was dealing with physiological changes that I did not expect while rearing a small child.
Yeah.
I didn't have any information though. I would have dealt with it differently. And I want other women to have that information so that they're not walking around blind in the dark, which is what happened to me.
I love that. And, I grew up, my family was crazy, and my mother and my stepmother hated each other and competed with me and each other. And so looking back, it's a miracle nobody got shot. Do you ever look back and you're like, woo, that was, and I grew up in the 70s and 80s where unfortunately I felt pitted against other women. I mean, I did have a few good girlfriends, but I was always drawn to hanging out with the boys, because women for me were scary, catty, two-faced. Now I grew up in the South, there were lots of factors. And I think that the patriarchy, the systems were sort of designed to keep women divided. against each other. I mean, that was just my experience. And what is so exciting now is I feel like we are all coming together. We're like, we're going to make our own table. We don't need to fight for room at this table. We're going to make our own table, and it's going to be round, and it's going to be big, and it's going to be inclusive. You know, we don't need to have a ceiling because we've created our own tower. That's, you know, and so I think it's such an exciting time to be a woman. And, you know, I was just at this celebration, and I was with one of my clients who's in her 70s, but she looks like she's 40. She's just hilarious. And, you know, she's very spry. And I was just helping her carry her bag. And I had a bag, and like all these women just ran over to help us come up a couple of steps. And it was just such a simple but sweet gesture. And I just love that, because, you know, that was not my experience growing up so much, but I feel like it's really evolved. And I love that there are younger women on the platform who are starting to pay attention, you know, and we have so much power. I don't know the stats, but X amount of women control the family money, right? Like it's a crazy number, right? It's like
we control literally billions of dollars, and women make 80 to 90% of the purchasing decisions in their household.
right.
And I'm not talking brand of toothpaste or toilet paper. We're talking houses, cars, vacations, educations, college. I mean, we own, and here's the part that makes me insane, and it shows you how powerful we are. We manage to own most of the money and make most of the purchasing decisions while still only making 81 cents on the dollar of every man.
Whew.
Okay, if that doesn't show you how powerful we are, then, you know, and just to speak to your point about the mean girl, you know, Elaine, I'm a corporate dropout. I was probably the most disappointing hire out of the Chicago MBA program that Hewlett Packard ever made. I mean, as soon as I got in and I looked at my boss, I'm like, oh boy, I don't want that job. And then I looked at his job and I'm like, oh, shit, I don't want that one either. And as I looked up the chain, I'm like, what am I doing? I don't want any of these jobs. But here's the deal. I still did it for years. Whenever you walked into a room in corporate America, there was one chair in that room for a skirt. One chair for a skirt. And if your skirt wasn't in it, you weren't in the room where it happened. And so, of course, it pitted us against each other. Of course, it made us incredibly competitive. Of course, it made us want to withhold information from each other because we wanted to be the skirt in the chair. And what I love, what is happening now with all of the women-driven brands that keep showing up and more every day, is that, as you said, the table is indefinitely large and it is full of women. And I always say, listen, if I run out of a chair, I'm small. I'll just scoot over. You can share my chair. I don't have a problem with that.
Yes, you can sit on my lap. Who cares?
You can sit right here.
Or we can stand and we'll burn more calories. I love that, Jack. I love it so much. And, you know, can you share with me, so you have this son, and it sounds like you have this amazing relationship with your son. And I love hearing Noreen talk about her son. And will you tell us the story? Because I love that you're so passionate and that you still play and have humor with it all. Can you tell us a story about the Hugh Jackman? Because I think this is just brilliant crowdsourcing.
Yeah. So when he went so he's a sophomore in college, but when he went to university as a freshman, I wasn't able to take him because we went skydiving on the day that I was taking him to school. And one of us ended up in the emergency room with 3 broken vertebrae, and one of us went to college. I'll let you figure out which one was which. So I missed out on that whole rite of passage. I was lying in a bed for 3 months, and it was terrible. So after I healed, I was really missing him. And I was like, okay, how do I get him to pay attention to me? I'm like, oh, he is into this band, Andy Grammer. And so I got us tickets to see Andy Grammer in New York at the Beacon. And while I was at it, I got us 4 tickets to go see Hugh Jackman. He was in The Music Man on Broadway. And I know, I just saw Bobby, right? It was so awesome.
No.
I call my son and I tell him about the tickets. And I said, oh, and by the way, I scored some tickets to see Hugh Jackman. I hope you're okay with that. And I hope you don't mind, but I may throw my panties on the stage at him. And I'm not kidding you, without missing a beat. That boy says to me, well, as long as you're okay if I throw mine. And that was it. The gauntlet had been thrown down. It was it. That was it. And we both have this philosophy that we commit to the bit no matter what. And sometimes that means we might step over a line or two, some feelings. So when we went to Hugh Jackman, I had a pair of panties and a pair of his boxers in my purse. And we sat down, the lights start to dim, and my son's like, okay, we're going to do it. And I got nervous. I got a little apprehensive. I'm like, maybe we shouldn't. I mean, come on, they could throw us out. This is Broadway. I mean, this isn't right. And like, really, Mom? You put them in your purse, you got all the way here, and now you're backing out. I looked at him and like, damn it. Okay. So I pulled them out and I talked to the people behind us and I said, tell them the story. And all of a sudden, the row in front of us, the row behind us, everyone around us, they're like, I'll take the photo, Everyone got into the bit. And so literally you can see like we're about to throw our underwear on the stage and we have this whole community of theater goers that are involved in our shtick, in our bit. And we would actually throw them. We pretended to throw them. I mean, it was Broadway, by the way. I mean, it wasn't burlesque. It was Broadway. So, but yeah, we had our own little sideshow before the Music Man, and it was so much fun. It was so much fun, and that's the kind of relationship that I have with him. But it's also the kind of relationship that I love having with almost any human. Right? If you can't play and you can't have fun and push it just a little. Yeah, so that was that story.
I love that. And I love that you got other people involved. I find, I love going to see comedy and some comedians will bring people up on stage and I find that most human beings are willing to play. If they feel safe, they want to play. So yeah, I love that, Jack. And so if people want to know like, oh my gosh, how do I learn more about Cool Life or you, where do they go?
Well, you can go to Cool Life. I mean, and much like Bobby, I'm Googleable. Is that even a word? Googleable. I mean, yes. And if you type in Jacqueline Jack Perez, I come up everywhere. If you just type in Jack Perez, there's some director out there that has a much bigger footprint than I do. So, but yeah, Cool Life, and it's spelled, as you noted, Elaine, it's spelled with a K. It's Kuel Life. And, basically all of that content is open for consumption. There is a lot of expert content on there. I mean, talking about menopause, talking about, women's health issues, talking about divorce, you could fitness, fashion, beauty, makeup tips because here's the deal, right? When we were younger and we wore makeup, why did we put makeup on? Because we wanted to get into a bar before we were legal, because we wanted to impress boys being sophisticated and looking older than we were. If we use the same makeup techniques now in our 50s, not so good. It's not the direction we want to go in. Not so good. So we need to remove these things. And that's why I put the platform together. I want us to have access to this information. I want us to be able to share it with each other. I want us to be able to learn from one another and have community about it and laugh and play. I mean, I'm a big proponent of that. So yeah.
Cool. I love it, Jack. And so do you want to leave us with any other one parting super tip about humor or being bold or going for it, or no pressure?
I dropped my nuggets as they were coming out of my mouth.
You did.
Anything for the end. I didn't even wait for dessert. I just like led with dessert. So
just
know that you're not alone. And if you are curious, if you want to learn more, go to the site. if you are someone who has important information that other women could benefit from, please reach out to me. As I said, my table, it's an endless table. I believe in, I'm a win-win person. I don't have to win first.
I love it. Well, thank you. Let's everybody thank Jack. Cool Live Jack. Woo, Jack Perez. That was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your beauty and your and oh good. And her link is in there. There's a free gift from Jack. And come check out the platform because it is awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. This next person has been my mentor. She taught me the value of short form and how to do less is more. And you know, I'm a talker, so it's been great. She has taught me so much about the power of super short videos. And she has been a successful social media agency that she runs with her husband in New Jersey. She's also a former opera singer. She sings rock and roll. She's a cantor in her synagogue. She is a loving and kind human being. And what I love about her story is she was doing all this stuff for her clients and she got breast cancer. And she just started doing TikTok as a way to make herself giggle. And you cannot believe what happened from this thing. Like she went viral, all this stuff crazy happened. And of course it helped her business, but that was not even the intent. She was just sharing her journey and making herself laugh. And so that's one reason I love talking about short form video. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Nika Stewart, and Justina is going to bring that up. And you are just going to love Nika Stewart. She's just got a heart of gold, very, very talented. And
I'm so honored and excited to introduce my friend and colleague, and we even live in the same state, although we haven't met in person. She is a social media maven, an entrepreneur, a goddess with music and art and creativity, and I'm so honored that you are interviewing with us today. Nika Stewart. Yay!
You are so sweet. I am the excited one, so I'll fight you on that.
Okay. So for some people who don't know you, can you tell us just a little bit about who you are, what you do?
Yeah, I help women show up and shine as the unique, brilliant superstars that they are with video. I've been in social media for about a dozen years. I have a social media agency where we work with small businesses and have done for you services. And over the last few years, my favorite thing has been video. So I've been focusing on that. And I just think that everyone has something truly unique and amazing, and often not the thing that they think it is, that can change the world. And I want more people to really shine their awesomeness. And like I said, sometimes our awesomeness is what we think is not so awesome. Turns out to be the most awesome thing that the world needs to know about.
Yes, yes. I always, because I do story coaching too, and I always feel like I love getting the story behind the story. So, okay, so we've all heard that story before, but tell us about what happened before, I just love stories. And, you've inspired me because I love what you put out there, and you do educate and inspire in a very kind, quirky, fun, whimsical way, which I think is so great. And that's what I'm hoping some of our listeners can get, is like, you don't have to be a professional performer like Nika and I have been, but there's lots of ways. And so can you tell us a story of maybe one of your clients who thought they were not creative or fun, but then you were able to kind of help them?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, there are several people specifically who have said to me, I can't do what you do because I'm boring. And brings tears to my eye. It's so weird that, and I've said this many times, and anytime I say it, I feel teary that someone thinks they're boring. I guess because I know that feeling and I have felt that a lot. Like, I don't really have things to share that would be like, what would be so interesting? Yeah,
I know.
Even if I'm good at what I do, like, how would that translate to these fun videos? Like, I can't go viral. I'm not fun. And
it always breaks my heart too. Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess because I want to, women and men, but I'm a woman, so I can relate to how it feels to want to be special. And I know that we probably all know we are, but how do we get that? How do we communicate that in a way so we can not only be seen as special, but actually that thing that where we can help other people, that comes through, and other people do feel inspired and motivated and uplifted from what we share. There's one woman specifically who about a year and a half ago said, I'm too boring, so could I really do what you're doing, going on video and reaching thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people? Like, what would that, how could that be? And we talked, and she then decided, okay, I'm going to trust the process and actually be myself. I don't have to, we talked, you don't have to dance, you don't have to shake your butt, you don't have to lip sync. That's what we all think TikTok is. So, you know, if you aren't that young, cute, sexy tushy shaker, then how could you succeed? Well, she is adorable, who she is. And she said, okay, and then I'm going to trust you, and I'm going to go out there. And she went out there and she said, I'm going to just do it, see what it's like every day for a month. And what she noticed is I'm trying to think of the math of it. I think it was approximately 100 times. I'm thinking of her numbers. Like, she went from an average number of views to 100 times as many views on all of her videos, and new followers every day started coming in on Instagram. 25% increase in her newsletter list. And if you look at her videos, you'd go, this is great stuff. She's not dancing and singing and being outrageous. She's just being herself. And after a few videos, the right people were like, oh, I like that. I connect with her. And she was consistent and showed up, and it's just beautiful. And she doesn't say she's boring anymore.
I love that. I know, it breaks my heart when people say, oh, I can't sing. I'm like, no, you just need to train your ear. Right? And like, I believe that anybody, if they really want to practice, they can sing. They may not become Barbara Streisand, right? But yeah, I always feel like the people who think they're funny, I'm always like, oh, but the people, you know what I mean? Because sometimes it's like, you need to keep working on that. But like the people who say, oh, I'm not funny, I'm always like, that's funny right there. Because you're not, because there's like the dry, witty, quiet people with the little side quips that can be hilarious. Not everybody has to be like, hey, like me, you know.
Oh, I so agree. And I happen to think that funny, it, like you said, it's not always the screaming in your face, like, here's the funny joke. It could be something just that's so relatable, and you just mention it or show it, and everyone goes, oh, I totally, and that's fun. Maybe not laugh out loud hysteria, but it's funny because we can relate to it.
Yes, I think the minute you say fun or humor, a lot of people go, ah, and it's like, there's so many different ways you can bring it in. And so that makes me want to ask your next question. So I know your background is in performing, and how have you always brought fun to your business, or has that been an evolution? Like, you manage a team.
Yes, and starting out, it was me, so being a solopreneur, and at some point, if you run your own business, if you want to grow, you realize you do need to delegate. You can't do everything yourself. So in different businesses over the years, I've had different people as contractors and employees, and assistants, and I've always felt like freedom to me is my most important like quality that I want to keep in my life. It's why I am my own business owner, like my own boss. And fun, it's not always funny, like you're saying. It's fun in that freedom to me means being able to live my life on my terms.
Yeah.
And so and that looks like something completely different to each individual person.
Right.
For me, I want my own schedule. So I run my own business. I've always run my own business. It doesn't mean I work less. Like people are like, oh, you don't have to work 9 to 5 when
Oh
you run
God.
your own business.
No, now it's 24/7.
Exactly. But it's more flexible. So if number one, I feel like going to lunch with a friend, I could take an hour off and then just work later at night. Or if something happens, like a family member needs me, I can drop everything because I have the flexibility. It's not always easy, but you have the flexibility to run your life on your terms. And to me, that means fun is just a huge part of that. People often say, well, that's something, I'll save that for the weekend, or I'll do that when I retire, or, I'm working for being able
Blah,
to
blah,
do
blah.
that, I mean, but I'm like, it's Tuesday night, let's go out to dinner. Like, it's not, I want to live my life as if it's a vacation. Yes, get work done, but why wait till vacation?
Why do we hang on to the good silver or the fancy dress?
Exactly.
Or, I'll hold on to perfume. Like, oh, I better save this for a special occasion.
Mhm.
And I'm 54 and I'm like, Elaine, use it up. Let's do it. Right?
Awesome. Exactly. And why wait till we're 54? And I can relate since I'm 54. So
Right.
we're exactly the same age.
Yeah. No, I love that. Why not get work done, but live as if you're on a vacation? That's a fun attitude to have. And how do you deal, have you ever had to deal with a tense conversation with team, or like I know you work with your husband, which like, wow, do you use humor in that relationship?
Oh my gosh. We have to. And we don't always remember. Thank goodness he does remember, probably more often than me. He's the kind of person who, if I'm having an argument with my daughter and things seem tense, he'll leave the room and come back in wearing a big hat or something big and ridiculous and walk in, and the two of us will turn to him and then forget about what we're arguing about. So he's good at that, and I've learned to be more like him. But we're a couple. We
Right.
have our nice arguments here and there. I always say working with him is mostly wonderful. It's not 100% wonderful. But I have to remember that years ago, I was growing a business by myself and I was loving it. And he was running his own business, but he was getting to a place where he was not that happy. And my dream was to grow my business big enough where I could say, just come work with me and we can love what we do together. And that happened. And so when I get frustrated, I have to remember, no, this is my dream. We're both doing what we love now. So
Wow.
even when things get crazy, I try to remind, just like it says behind you, remember why you started. I have to thank you for that reminder.
Right. It's one of my favorite all-time quotes. I saw it at my yoga studio and I just was like, oh, I have to get this. So, well, that's amazing. That's so powerful that you were like, hey, what if I could expand this and then we could work together? So,
yeah. And we did, I wouldn't say I grew it and he came in. We did grow it together, but I finally had a business where I was like, you know what, we can do this together. And it is a dream and very hard work to work with here. Luckily, we have 2 different offices. So like, this is my office. He has another office on a different floor of the house, and we don't have to see each other all day long.
That is probably life-saving, life-saving. And now, okay, so I know you've been helping people with social media. You started ghost tweeting, and then it just kind of evolved. And can you tell us a little bit about your journey with your illness?
Yeah, so I was running, and thank you for asking. I've been running a social media agency. It started with the name Ghost Tweeting because it was a cutesy name. When my husband joined, he's like, we need to change that name. It's too cutesy. And I said, I love cutesy. And finally he convinced me we needed to have our parent name, which is Streambank Media. We kind of moved Ghost Tweeting into just the name Streambank Media because it's more professional sounding, which to me is less fun, but we still have fun.
Right.
And so have been working, we've been growing our team over the years. It's been about a dozen years now. And
Wow.
then in early 2020, before the world, closed down, before,
Right.
we had all been hearing about this weird thing that may happen in our lives. But before that happened, I got a cancer diagnosis and suddenly had to decide, like, okay, so this path that we all assume we're on, I'm no longer on that path now. And at that point, everything it's weird because people are like, I wonder what I would do or how I would feel if I suddenly got a diagnosis like that. But it is pretty clear, like, we don't really have to wonder because it's clearly laid out what to do when you have a cancer diagnosis. There are people to see, there are support groups to join, there are procedures to have, and there are ways to feel. Like, there's this path of grief that they even, map out. Like, you go through these different stages of dealing with it. And I didn't want to do any of that. I actually don't know exactly why or how this came to be. But the moment that I found out I have cancer and I am now going to go through what you go through, I decided I was not going to do what everyone does. I am actually going to turn this into a fun adventure, as crazy as that sounds.
Oh, I love it.
And so that's what I did. I feel like I really did. And in my heart and in my mind, I actually, again, not every moment, certainly most moments were fun and there was physical pain and emotional pain, but it really was a fun adventure. And then I documented it and shared it. And that was part of the fun for me, was bringing people along on the ride. And so the journey it wasn't lonely. I'm now up to about 200 million views. So I had 200 million eyeballs, or maybe that's 400 million eyeballs on me going through this journey, which made it even more fun. And that turned my mindset on and I'm bringing that into what I do for my clients now too.
I love that. And can you tell us a little bit about the video, the first?
So I was just having fun documenting what I was going through and doing my crazy chemo countdown, like erasing lines on the board and jumping around and dancing. And one day I realized, and this is part of how things can be funny without being in your face jokes. I realized I had lost my hair, and a few weeks later, I realized I was doing things forgetting that I didn't have hair. It started when I put on a shirt and went like this, because I had long hair below my chest.
She was gorgeous.
I was
a very big hair.
My big hair from the 80s. Yeah, my 80s hair never went away. So I put on my shirt and went like this one time too many. And I was like to take the hair out of the collar. And I went, oh, this is so funny. There's no hair there. And then I thought, what else am I doing because I keep your muscle memory.
Right.
And I realized there were a few things, and I decided to make a video about it, thinking this is funny. I know it's a weird situation, but it also is funnier because people could see I'm able to find the funny.
Funny. And I just want to underline, you were not trying to go, you were just like, I'm just doing this. I'm not trying to boost my business. I'm just sharing my humanity on this cancer journey. So it was just like to self-express and have joy and fun.
Yeah. I mean, it started for me really as a creative outlet because I needed something, because each day was, if I didn't feel good enough to get up and work, I still my mind was moving and I needed something to entertain myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I felt like documenting my journey originally for myself, because I knew when I got through it, I'd want to look back on it. So I would make videos, I'd take notes, I took pictures. And this video was just kind of, I did want people to see and laugh with me.
Right.
But I didn't realize, most people can't relate to losing your hair all of a sudden. So I didn't think, that many people. I thought a few of my friends would laugh with me.
Right. Okay. So please continue. Anyway, I just want to underline that because I think that's the power here.
Yeah, it really is. One of the things is that it was for fun. It was for entertainment for myself. It was to make myself feel better. It was for creativity. It was not to go viral and build my business, like you said. And yet it went viral and built my business. So it reached, that first video, that video is what started my journey to looking at what makes a video go viral, because I posted the video at night and went to sleep. I had gone to sleep with 200 followers on TikTok, and I woke up the next morning and I had 3,000 followers. And I knocked on the door of my TikTok expert, my 14-year-old daughter.
Right.
And I said, excuse me, what happened? I went to sleep with 200 and this morning I have 3,000 followers. And she said, oh, you must have had a video go viral. And I was like, what does that even look like? This was so exciting. So I looked and it had thousands and thousands and thousands, and it ended up having hundreds of thousands of views on the video. And my daughter told me something that I feel like I have chills, because she told me something that is now the thing I share with the world, and I have to give her credit. What she said to me was, you should do a part 2. And I realized what I have always taught my clients when we do social media is look at what's working and do more of that.
Yes.
And that's what she was saying. That worked. Do more of that. So I did a part 2. And at this point I felt emboldened. I'm like,
sure.
I didn't think people could relate to that.
Right.
What I
Who knew?
realized was I was being authentic and silly and looking for the funny in a tough situation, which people need.
Yes.
Especially, this is now the time where all of a sudden
especially during COVID. My God.
Yeah.
Right.
So now everyone is looking for ways to laugh and feel better. And not every people, there were thousands of comments, and they weren't, I can relate to not having hair. They were all different things, like, oh, that's how I act when I can't find my phone and realize my phone is in my hand. Or that's just like me when I go to reach for my glasses, but they're already on my eyes. Like,
right.
So people are like, it's muscle. So people did relate to it. And then part 2 went to millions of people. And so I decided to do part 3 and 4. And then that's where I discovered what makes a video go viral, and started teaching people like how to make your things relatable and go viral.
I so appreciate it. Wow. Well, so many great things to unpack there, of just like the joy of sharing your experience and not trying to be funny. I'm just like, I think this is funny because it's human. It's human.
Yes.
And that's what we talk about.
Is funny.
It is, like, that's what I talk about with my clients. Are like, as a comedian, I'm like, everybody has the potential to be funny. It's like, how comfortable are you in your own skin? And you can be funny in a whole different way. So I just love that. And are you recovered now? Mostly?
Yeah, I am cancer free. So yes, there's lots of things to go through, but bottom line, I'm cancer free. So thank you.
Yeah. And she has taken lemons and made lemonade. Like, you have this other thing where you say, there's a video of Nika's where she's like, people ask me, why are you going to do another restructuring or whatever?
Reconstruction, yeah.
And then you open the shirt, like, and people go, ah, and it's funny, you know? And
thank you.
I mean, it's just, I just get inspired by people who take things and like, how can I add value to people? Because, for me, TikTok is really, I mean, you have opened me up to TikTok. I came in as an Instagram girl, and TikTok, the platform is, I mean, I love all the platforms in short doses for me, because I get to compare, despair, or whatever. But like, TikTok has become, this platform for all kinds of really cool social movements and acceptance and inclusion and positivity.
I find that too. I think you see the greatest thing, in my opinion, about TikTok is that it shows you what you want to see. So your algorithm, your For You page is going to look completely different, or maybe not. Maybe we like very similar things, but completely different to another person. And you tend to see TikTok figures out who you are and shows you what you want to see. And so I like seeing positive, uplifting things. And other people have said, oh, it's all nasty. I'm like, maybe that's what you look at and respond to, because I don't. So TikTok doesn't show me that stuff.
I say the same thing. I'm like, what are you looking for, right? Like, I always feel like whatever you're looking for, you'll find. And so, yeah. So thank you so much, Nika. You've helped my business and my visibility so much. And, as we're wrapping up here, what is one super tip? What do you feel like I also want to thank you, because I'm not big enough to have a whole social media agency. Those are like the big boys, right? And I'm so grateful that you have this really cool Shine thing that you do in your viral video course, because I have access to you, and I'm so grateful, because I'm just not ready yet.
Yeah.
And I just love that, because I know you have a special place in your heart for entrepreneurs, because you're such an entrepreneur. And, do you have a message or a super tip to give, especially our female entrepreneurs?
Yes, let's see. One of the biggest things that, and we've already said it, is to, if you're like wondering what to do next, look at what is working best for you. Although I wish we could say, people will say, like, what is the best time to post? Well, it depends. It depends on your audience and where they are in the world and what they're reacting to. So the number one thing to look for in putting out more content for yourself is what works best for you and your audience, and do more of that. The other thing to remember is the things that really connect with people are these human things, and what's going on in your life is personal to you, and it's universally relatable. If you find, especially if you're going through a challenge, and so this is, I think, a really good thing to remember, is instead of posting a writing and talking about the challenge, talk about how you're dealing with it. And that is where people find something that's really relatable. So, I mean, to go back to like talking about losing my hair, I could have talked about how I lost my hair and I had to shave it when there were, clumps falling out. I could have talked about that. But instead, I talked about how I was dealing with it, was like finding funny things about it. Or someone else might say, I went to a hair shaving party and when we did. So it's how you're dealing with the issue is much more impactful when you share it than just talking about the issue itself.
Yes. Yes. I love it.
And that's how you garner support for yourself too, if you actually need that. So, and it inspires so many people.
I love that. And, one more. So I know that you were very vulnerable. You were bald in this video that went viral. And I know that you had a few negative comments. How did you deal with that?
Yeah. It would be so cool if there was an answer to how to deal with the hate.
Just magic.
Magic, push the button. I have always found, I learned this from watching other people deal with the trolls and the hate. When you have comments that it's so weird, because you could get 10,000 I love you, you're amazing,
right. We love you,
and one oh, you're ugly. I mean, I got your smile makes me throw up, I think was the comment. And here's what's so funny, I can't tell you exactly what the other comments said, all the amazing ones, but I remember specifically it was an emoji. Your smile makes me, and it was the green throw up emoji. But first of all, you only get those comments when you're pushing buttons and you're making a difference, because no one cares if you're not saying anything bold. No one's even looking at your stuff. So we have to remember to be excited that we're touching people, or they wouldn't post something. Right. Now, it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
But we do have to know when we get the hate, we have to celebrate it and go, whoa, we're fine. We're there. We've
I'm
made
on my
it.
way,
We got
right.
some hate. And to find the funny in it. So people often will do things like take their hate comments and make them into a video and answer them in a funny way. I mean, someone once said something about me looking old, and then they said I looked like I was 45, which was younger than I am. So I'm like, thank you. Oh my God. Yeah, it's what a nice comment. It's such a nice compliment. So that was my way of dealing with the hate. You know, you find the funny way to respond to it if you can, and then ignore everything else.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I love that. You know, when I first started doing live video, I was sort of like, hi, I don't want to, you know, and I realized, Elaine, I was afraid I was going to get bullied by some other comic. And so, and then, you know, I heard Molly's story, and that really helped me free myself up of like, it's actually a good sign, and how you deal with it can actually, you can turn somebody around. You know,
you can either, and the truth is, I don't think it's our job to turn them. Yes, we certainly can turn them around. Sometimes I've even answered people with love, like, I'm so sorry you're going through so much pain that you felt you had to write this. Sometimes I get back, beautiful. Thank you so much. Like it's something like that. So maybe I did touch someone once in a while, but you also will, the more you kind of just be yourself, your audience is going to stand up for you too and go like, oh, shut up, she's amazing. So, so they'll stand up for you too. So you just have to be the youest you can be.
I love that, Nika. Well, thank you so much. And I think you have a special gift for our listeners.
This is something that was asked for, so I finally put it together in a download, but it's my top 10 viral videos to show you, not just here are the videos, but this is why in researching them, they worked and they reached people so that you could steal the ideas and create your own viral videos.
I love it. I love it. So we'll have that link in the show notes and everywhere. And if people wanted to find out more about you, Nika, what's the best place for them to go?
Probably my best link is, you know what? Why don't you go to nika.live/free session. And then if you do want to talk more and see if there's something that I can help you with, we will talk.
nika.live/free session. Okay.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for your generosity and your spirit. And I am just so honored that you were willing to be on this interview and share your beautiful heart. And we're all so glad that you're cancer free and that I can't wait to come see you sing sometime.
Oh, so exciting.
And thanks again for sharing your wisdom and your heart. And bye. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Right. Woo! Okay, everybody clap it up for Nika. Wasn't she inspiring? Her TikTok stuff is hilarious and bold, and I just love her story, and she's a great lesson to me. And you can use social media for good. You really can. Which is the perfect segue for my next speaker, who I am so cracking up. This woman, I met her through I can't even remember if it was Polka Dot or something. And then I started following you on TikTok, and I was like, marshmallows. And then I saw this giraffe, and I was like, what the hell is she doing? And we are in for such a treat because she is a badass speaker. She is a certified complaint-free trainer. She's a TEDx speaker, and she has started the Kindness Bucket Brigade to end online bullying. I could go on, but I'm going to let her talk. Wendy Babcock. Woo!
Thank you so much, Elaine. Woo! I'm excited that you invited me to be here. You know, what's funny is I never consider myself to be the funny person at all. I'm just kind of a goofball by nature. And I like to tell people, like, I grew up in like in a atmosphere between childhood and my first marriage of abuse. So I learned to be silent. I learned to keep myself small because that's what got me out of trouble and
Yeah.
being noticed because then bad things happen. So I learned to, like, just be small and silent most of my life. And then as I got older and I left that, the childhood behind, I left my first marriage. I'm like, I like to be funny. I like to, like, I remember almost every joke you tell me. My mom owned a tavern for 18 years. So I grew up with some awful, dark, raunchy humor, you know? And so, like, that's my personality. And of course, if you've grown through abuse, you develop this dark humor anyways. Like, you make light of the horrible things you've been through. You find the funny in everything, even though it's not even remotely funny. But I feel like that's what's kind of like formed this crazy personality of mine. Because I'm not like, I wish I could be like very bold, like Elaine Turso. I absolutely love her. I'm just not that bold person, even though I've got the glitter, the pink hair, but personality wise, I'm much more of an introvert. And so people are shocked when they hear that. They're like, but you speak on stages, you did a TEDx. I'm like, yeah, but it's being an introvert isn't about being shy. It's about your energy. And I've always guarded my energy so much growing through abuse and the things I've been through that, I think that's what formed this introverted sense of myself. So
I love that, Wendy. And I just want to pause there for a minute because I think that's important because I have this sort of, personality, but I also have a shy side. And so, and a lot of comedians and speakers are shy and introverted too. Like sometimes I feel way more comfortable on a stage than at a cocktail party, which is why I used to party and give myself liquid courage. But so I love that. And that's one reason I'm so delighted because not everybody can be, we don't, Elaine Torso is Elaine Torso, right? And Jack Perez, and we all can have our own flavor. And so I just love that. Thank you for being so vulnerable with us. And I love that you are like kind of a goofball and you're just sort of being your goofy self. You're not necessarily, hey, I'm going to try to make a lot of people laugh. You're just like sharing, this is kind of who I am. Did I get that right?
You did. Yeah. And I stifled that part of me for so long.
Right.
Because there was times when I'd be in situations and I had this like funny thing I wanted to say or like something really sarcastic. And I'm like, oh, I can't say it, like keep it in.
Yeah.
And then it slowly crept out, because I did marry somebody who lets me be 100% myself. And he is sneaky funny. He's one of those guys who's a really quiet guy, but he's sneaky funny. And oh my God, it cracks my family. My sister's like, he's so quiet, but when he speaks, sometimes the stuff that comes out of his mouth, everyone's like, we did not expect that.
And it just like destroys the room. And
yeah.
I love that. I love
exactly. That. Yeah. And then just learning to kind of like let that come out slowly. And as an entrepreneur, that's another area where I tried stifling myself. So I'm like, people aren't going to like me if I let my whole personality out. If I tell these jokes or if I do these crazy things that I want to do, people aren't going to like me. I'm going to lose followers. But then, the pandemic, blessing and a curse at the same time.
Right.
I was just like, we're all stuck in our houses. And I'm like, I'd watched TikToks forever. My daughter's got me hooked on it.
Right.
And that's where the marshmallow video started. Because on Facebook, everyone knows like I'm a marshmallow addict. Like that's my favorite snack ever. I love them. I'm a snob. It's got to be Kraft.
You're a marshmallow snob.
I am. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm gonna make some fun videos. I'm just gonna, I was terrified to share them on Facebook. I'm like, I'm just gonna keep my little TikTok page to myself and just kind of like do funny things.
And so you were were you like roasting marshmallows? Like what were you?
Well, okay. So the first one was, there was a kind of a viral video going around or an idea where like women would be like, oh my gosh, this guy came to my door, told me, he'd give me a bottle of wine if I showed him my boobs, and then she pulls out this bottle of wine to show where like they went. So I did that, but with marshmallows. So I'm like, oh my God, guys, this guy came to my house, said if I showed my boobs, he'd give me a bag of marshmallows. I'm like, the audacity. And I just started like eating a marshmallow, like he went to the neighbor's house, or, just things like that. I was just taking like the viral ideas and making it my own, but with marshmallows as the theme.
And
So,
what
yeah.
happened?
So, I mean, I had some viewers, none of them went viral or anything, but eventually one day I'm like, I'm gonna share one on Facebook, and I was like terrified. I'm like, people are gonna think I'm weird, and they loved it. And here's what I found. If Facebook likes it, TikTok hates it. If TikTok loves it, Facebook hates it. I've never had a video go viral on TikTok and then people love it on Facebook. For me, it's always one or the other.
Yep. I find, sometimes it's interesting, the different platforms, but I just love that you gave yourself permission to be sort of wild and wacky. And it sounds like it was a great, release for you during a really crazy time, right?
It really was. And then I just got more comfortable sharing more of me and who I am and my sense of humor. And so like, it kind of like veered all over the place. I'm too ADHD. Everyone's like, oh, stick to one niche. You got to stick to one thing. I'm like, that's not me. I'm all over the place in my life. My sense of humor and what I love and what I do. I'm like, I'm just going to post what I want to post. I don't care about the numbers. I'm not trying to go viral. And for me, what I found is the videos I put more time into because I think they're funny, they get like 200 views. The ones that I just kind of randomly, like one day I was videoing we have a pool that's enclosed. And I'm just videoing, I'm making some dumb commentary about it. 5.9 million people watched that stupid video. And I'm like, why? And then my commentary, because I didn't plan it, it was just very off the cuff. And I just sounded ridiculous. And so people were coming at me because I was saying, oh, literally, you literally don't know how to use the word literally. And so they kind of came at me for my commentary. It was just, it was the weirdest viral video ever. I'm like, why?
But I love that. I mean, what sometimes people say mean things and you're like, okay, whatever, you shake it off. So
Yep.
Wendy, tell us about the whole no complaint thing, because I saw that guy speak with Louise Hay and it was amazing. So tell us about this, because this is a great throw your hat over the wall, see what the hell is going to happen story.
Yeah. So I worked at a hospital for almost 20 years, 10 years in the clinic, 10 years in the hospital, had no ambitions to be a speaker, entrepreneur. I did like an MLM at the time. And I was listening to an Audible book at work that talked about a complaint-free world. And they mentioned this Will Bowen guy who wrote the book. And I was at a place in my life where I was trying to really get rid of the negativity surrounding me because of my ex and all that happened. And I thought, well, what's more negative that we do than complain? This is kind of perfect. I'm going to look into this. And I'm telling you, if it's fate, whatever. I went to Facebook. I looked up Will Bowen and his post was, hey, I'm looking for 10 people who I can train to speak about, creating this complaint-free world. We can make an impact. And I'm like, I want to do this. And I didn't know why, so I just like, I'm not going to get picked. There's probably gonna be thousands of applications. He's not going to pick me anyways. So I sent off the email and sure enough, I got picked. And I had like a massive anxiety attack. Like, what the hell am I doing? Like, I'm not a speaker. Yeah.
What am I doing?
Yeah. And so I went through his training and everyone else had some speaking, under their belt already. So I felt like kind of the low man on the totem pole. So like, I dug in. I'm like, I'm going to do everything this man tells me to do. I'm going to learn everything about the complaint-free movement. And now I'm the only active complaint-free trainer in the world besides Will Bowen himself now. And it's been such a bizarre turn of events in my life because again, I ended up quitting my job, my full-time job, and hitting the road running with speaking. And I've been doing it now since early 2017, which then landed me at TEDx through the Kindness Bucket Brigade movement I started. And I never could have foreseen all of this, never, and Will has been just such a great mentor and really supporting me and like teaching me everything I needed to know so that I can now, besides speaking, I'm teaching other women how to get on stages and get paid to do it. Because it's like when Bobby talked about how it's a male driven world in the speaking, I get so literally pissed off when I see conferences charging thousands of dollars for tickets and not paying their speakers.
Yes.
It's one thing if you're giving an offer from the stage and you can make your money, that's fantastic. But if I'm going there to teach your audience and provide your content, you're going to give me a paycheck. And so that's where, you know, so I want to teach more women how to do that, where to look, you know, how to contact people and how to get paid.
I love it, Wendy.
Yeah.
I love it. And so I know we're going to put your info, we're going to drop that in a minute. So yeah, it's just such a great story that you were like, well, I'm not going to get picked. And
Yeah.
now you're like the one remaining person. And yeah, I saw him speak and I was very inspired. And now tell us about the giraffe, because you know, I just want to emphasize Wendy is, you know, like an introvert. Like she was doing, you know, you were taking down reports at the hospital. You were not like being a trainer, you know. And so you fall into the speaking thing. That's going okay. And then tell us about
So, you know, in watching TikToks and stuff, I'm like, oh my God, there's so much I think it'd be so much fun. And like, okay, there's one thing to be on a stage in front of people because you know what you're going to say. You know what you're going to do. It's not like a one-on-one conversation. That's where I really struggle sometimes. And being behind a camera, not a problem. I can be as outrageous as I need to be. So enter Gertie Glitterbottom. And that's, so I was on Amazon.
Glitterbottom.
Gertie Glitterbottom. That's what we named her. So I have a 9-foot inflatable giraffe costume that I'm like, I found it on Amazon. I'm like, I'm going to buy this stupid thing and I'm going to like do things like go get the mail and walk my dog in it just for the hell of it. Cause I'm like, you know, who knows? So then I recorded it, put it on TikTok and everyone just thought it was hilarious. I'm like, and it's fun because when you walk down the road in a 9-foot inflatable giraffe costume, everybody loves to see it. People are smiling. They're happy. They're just like, you're making someone's day and they can't see it's me unless you know it's me because you follow me on social media, you know? So I'd love to make people laugh or just put a smile on their face, not like LOL, like cracking up laughing, but just be the joy in someone's day with something silly like an inflatable giraffe. So that's how Gertie was born.
Love that. And you know, I had just met Wendy through like this networking thing. And so then I'm like, oh, she's doing some marshmallow thing. And then all of a sudden I kept seeing this giraffe and I didn't connect the two. Like, you know, sometimes you're scrolling and you don't know who's, and I was like, finally, after like lots of time, I thought that's Wendy in the giraffe costume. And I just love that. And so when your husband didn't know you were doing any of this, tell us about that.
So when I bought the costume, I didn't tell him I bought it. And so he got home. So he has his own catering company. And so he's just kind of chilling in his recliner. And I'm in the bath or in our bedroom trying to get this thing on kind of quietly. And I'm kind of giggling to myself, like, I don't know what his reaction is going to be when I come out in this 9-foot costume. Cause I have to kind of pull her head down to get her like through the doorway. And so I come through and he just busted a gut. He's like, what the hell are you doing? And, you know, he thought it was a riot. He thought it was the funniest thing ever. And he's like, whatever. Like, I'm like, I don't know. I found it on Amazon. I'm an Amazonaholic. I bought it and just embraced it.
Amazon made me buy it.
Amazon made me do it.
I love it, Wendy. And so if people want to know, you know, if they want to come follow you. So yeah, so we have your stuff in there. TikTok for Gertie Glitterbottom. And then there's also your Facebook stuff and stuff about your speaking. And so is speaking coming back? Are you being asked to go speak in person?
I am. And, you know, it's funny because I was doing strictly speaking and then, you know, like life, I have like, I call them rabid brain squirrels where I have all these crazy ideas. So I kind of like veered and did a lot of different things. But then I'm like, you know what? Speaking is my passion. I need to get back to that. You know how when you're chasing something else that's not really meant to be, you feel like you're always like forcing it. And that's where I felt I was doing. But yet what was chasing me was women coming up to me and saying, hey, can you teach me how you get speaking engagements? Can you teach me this about speaking? And like, duh, Wendy, quit chasing these things that you're forcing to happen and turn around and like help the people who are asking for your help. And so that's when I opened up my, you know, the speaker program to help get other women on stages. So yeah, speaking is definitely my passion. I'm back to it and just booked a keynote today before this. So
congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes, I love it. And I want to see more women on stages. And I feel compelled to get back on stage too, because I for so long, I would go and I would speak on college campuses and I would feel so expanded. The kids would be, like crying and laughing and it was just so amazing. And then I'd come back to New York and kind of get beaten down, by the city and the grind but yeah, I just love when you can bring somebody joy.
That's what it's all about, and I've learned to embrace myself and who I am, even on stage. I really don't ever memorize it besides the TEDx, you have to kind of memorize, but like my presentation, like I know the material, so I'm good with when I'm in front of an audience, if a story like just kind of comes to mind, of just going with it. Because I've just kind of learned that being in the moment and letting those things happen kind of authentically, it makes such a difference. Because I've seen some speakers where, and sadly it's mostly men, they just seem so, what's the word I'm looking for?
Rehearsed?
So, what's that?
Rehearsed?
Yeah, kind of rehearsed, where you can tell it's like they're just following this script and they won't ever veer off of it, but so I've really tried hard not to be that person.
Yes.
Yeah,
I talked about that earlier, about seeing this famous person who has a good heart, but it was so canned, and it was
right.
And I remember thinking, I never want to be like that. I would rather be like,
Yeah.
robotic. Somebody wrote robotic.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. Yeah, and you can tell that. And
you're on a stage now. You're right.
Yeah.
Yes, I love it. And so, Wendy, tell us. So, putting on a big giraffe suit, did you feel vulnerable the first few times you went out? Like, what are you do? Or, how did you just breathe into that?
It's hard, like, to get out of your comfort zone, and I live in a rural area, so my neighbors are like, a couple acres apart at least. So I was just like, okay, these neighbors, and I don't know them very well. We've only been here since the beginning of the pandemic. Like, they're gonna think I'm freaking nuts. But I'm like, who cares? I don't really know them. But then yesterday I made a TikTok because I bought a second inflatable costume. And I was hiding in my garage because the mailman was there and I was going to make a TikTok outside. So I'm like, now I'm hiding in here in this blow up thing. I want to walk out when the mailman pulled in. So there's still like that apprehension of where I should have just embraced it and gone out and saw what his reaction was. I think he would have got a good laugh out of it.
Yes. So I mean, you're human. So we all have these invisible things.
Yeah.
I mean, I teach video and I love video and I love being goofy, and I still have days sometimes where I'm like, so I just thank you for being so vulnerable. So what is a super tip? If somebody's here and they're like, I want to get out of my comfort zone, do you say, go buy your favorite Amazon blow up thing, or what else can you do? What can you do that, what would you recommend, Wendy?
I would say go with what makes you laugh. So generally when I make content, it's stuff that makes me laugh. And I don't really care if somebody, I mean, I want to make people smile and laugh, but like, if I find it funny, that's enough for me. And so if other people makes them smile and laugh, just go with what makes you happy. I think it radiates out when you do that. So that would be my tip. Whatever makes you smile and laugh, share it. If something happens in your life, I shared a silly story about, we were at Walgreens last night or yesterday. My husband and I are both looking at chocolate and we couldn't decide what we wanted. And so finally I kept looking back at this bag of Rolos and I reached out and grabbed it. My husband's like, shut up. Like, what? He's like, I was just going to grab those. And it was a silly thing, but like, I'm like, I just shared it on social and people thought it was hilarious. Just share your life, share the things that make you kind of like, oh, that was really kind of funny. Like that's who we are as a couple. Like, we're just ridiculous. And we do that kind of thing all the time. Like, just share it.
I love this. I love it so much, Wendy. And, I have to tell you, as a comedian, right? You never know, sometimes you're in a basement with 5 people, sometimes you're in a casino and they really want to be out gambling, like you just never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
One of the things I learned early on was, and I remember crying like, and my boyfriend at the time said, Elaine, you can only be as funny as they'll let you. So every once in a while you have an audience, it's just like, or whatever. And so so when you can learn to make yourself laugh, because sometimes you can just tell, like, for whatever reason, the audience is just hardly there, or they're super drunk or whatever. And so I learned, like, all right, this one's going to be for me, and
Yeah.
not that I would laugh out loud, but I really, it's a subtle thing, but it makes it where you are kind of taking the control back, and you're not like needing them, because when you need the audience, they can feel it, they can smell it, they can sense it, and that's not always a great place to be in. So
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And even with TikTok, when I had that viral video, I had just like Jack, I had a lot of, not Jack, who's the one that talked about the one right before me. Oh, Nika. Anyways, I turned them into parodies. I took some of the stupid comments they said and I made parody videos. So it's just kind of like, you know what? This is what I think of your comment. Just silly to me. I'm going to make fun of it. I'm not going to really throw hate back, but I'm going to make fun of it. I'm just going to kind of let it go out there and be like, I don't know. One I put on there.
I love that. I love it when people read their Amazon reviews. And I
Yes.
highly recommend that everybody do that, especially if you're putting yourself out there, which I hope everybody's going to do even more of, because like sometimes I'll read like the best book and somebody will have like, this is the worst piece of shit. And you're like, wow. Like, but I think it shows you, nobody has taste. No, like, everybody has different tastes. It's all subjective. And what somebody or many people might hold up and revere, some other people might not. And at the end of the day, who cares, right?
Right.
So
that's just it.
We have a question, Wendy. How do you film yourself when you're in the costume? Do you set up a tripod that follows you, that follows like movement?
So it's been a few different things. I've set up my own phone, on a tripod and filmed it like coming up the driveway. We have security cameras at our house too. So I've used footage from my security cameras. Otherwise my husband has followed me with my camera. I'm like, you gotta film this. And he's like, oh my God. He grabs his phone. He's like, okay. Like, here we go. When he's,
a reluctant cameraman. Okay.
Or if I'm in town, somebody, I just hope somebody catches it. If they don't, I'm just making smiles anyways. But if someone catches it, they'll be like, oh my God, I saw you in town. Here's, a video. I quick grabbed my phone and I videoed you.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So sometimes I don't even do it like for TikTok. I'll just do it because I know that if there's a little kid in a car, we had a local craft fair. And I'm like, I'm going to be in Gertie the whole day. I'm just going to show up at the craft fair and I'm going to walk around. And all the little kids like loved it. I had a little girl that like stuck with me the entire day. And I'm like, I didn't do it. I didn't record. My daughter recorded me, but I'm like, I didn't do it to record myself. I did it because it was just, it's going to make somebody laugh.
I love that, Wendy. Oh my gosh. So if people want to know more, I know we put the links in the chat and you're getting comments. Oh my God, this is hysterical. Wow, Wendy, you are fun. Yes, thank you so much for who you are. And yeah, simple and profound, radiate it out. I love the conversation. I have a fuzzy tiger costume. This is just beautiful. Wendy. Oh, good. And we have a free gift. Tell us about your free gift.
So my free gift is for anyone who's wanting to become or, take their business to the next level with speaking on stages. So I give away my 5 top places where I find speaking leads, and Innovation Women is actually on there because I love their website. So kind of a shout out for Bobby. I was so happy she was here today because I'm like, she's one I hand out all the time. So it's just the 5 places where I find paid speaking engagements.
That is great. Yeah. And wow. Well, thank you so much for saying yes. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your wacky marshmallows self and the pool thing. And yes, just everybody, please help me thank Wendy Babcock. Woo, woo.
Thank you so much.
Fun, Wendy. Yeah, thank you so much for your time and your energy and for saying yes. And I hope that you'll keep hanging out. And one more round for Wendy. Woo! That was fun. She is so fun. And, she's just a great example of, she's not as extroverted, but she's doing it her own way, So I just love that. Yeah, we should all dress up crazy for our mailman. You never know what can happen. Okay, are you guys, woo, this is so exciting. I just love it. I wish we could all hug each other. So this next person, I met her. I was in a community and I was working on my follow-up, and my teacher said, Elaine, I think this woman would be good for you. I think you have some internal blocks, and I'm always open to healing and things. And this woman has her own podcast. She is a sexy badass. She is a mother, an entrepreneur, an international traveler. She is a business intuitive. Her podcast is called Fiercely Brilliant, and she has a best-selling book called Love-Based Mission. So please help me give a warm welcome to Therese Kelly.
Hello, darling. I'm so happy to be with you.
Oh, well, thank you for saying yes. And I always love your tree behind you.
Let's do that. There we go.
Yes. And, wow, there's so much I want to dive into. I just, you're sexy, you're fun. You have this really interesting take on, why don't we start with your podcast? Because, there's a lot of podcasts, and I loved having my own podcast, and then we put a lot of heart into it, and then it didn't really grow. And finally I said, let's pause it. And, I may bring it back a different version, but tell us about yours. And yours is really a unique twist.
Yeah. Because I've been on thousands of podcasts, or maybe not thousands, but I've been around 20 years in this industry. And I used to have a more business podcast. And I love stories. Elaine, I want to provide hope and inspiration. And I don't ever want to again go, please give me your top 5 tips to grow your list.
Right.
Like that is just like, I can't hear it anymore. Right. I want to hear people's stories. I want to hear your pain. I want to hear what we've overcome. I want to hear what makes you magnificent. Right. So it's called the Fiercely Brilliant Podcast, because my whole goal with people is like, be freaking brilliant and do it fiercely, not just like, yay, I did a great job today. No, fierce, baby. So the fire, the red, right? I wore my color today. And so that's the goal. So I interview people and I share my own story. And it really is like, there's inspiration in other people's stories. Like, wow, you overcame that. Wow. If you can do it, I can do it. And that's what it's all about. So
I love that. Yes. I want to know the story. I don't want to know the 7 tips.
Yes.
You know what? More power. Sometimes people need that.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
But I want to know how you got out of the mud, and then you fell back in the mud. I want to know all that. That's something that's always, and you also do like a coaching thing too with some of your episodes.
Yeah, you will be one of my episodes. So I have a so here's full disclosure, right? It's super fun just to interview people and like, whoa, they're cool. And I'm like, hey, girlfriend, like you got some mad skills yourself. like, and I do my own episodes, but I'm like, duh, hello, why don't you showcase? And I put you in a showcase. So part of the podcast is called Transform with Therese. And what's really cool is Elaine was one of my guests, and it's just like basically watching me do the work live. Because what I do, where's my pendulum of multiples? Like I work with energy. So I have a background of, I was a therapist, like a psychotherapist for lots of decades. And I was a business coach. And I also am a business intuitive. So I really weave in all the psychology, the business, and the energetics of it. So I can just go, oh, boom, that's why you can't own your value. What happened when you were 12? What did you carry in? Right. And I like our episode, I knew it blew you away. It was just, right. And you were such a great guest because you were so real. And it's a beautiful, it'll be airing in the next couple of weeks. It's in queue. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure we'll put the links below. But I just thought, what a cool twist.
It's different. Yeah. Because a lot of people, number one, I like to normalize. Like I'm kind of a shame buster. Like I have a background with a lot of trauma, and I'm like, not on my watch is anybody going to feel less than. Not on my watch is going to anybody like the little voices go, really you. So I'm all about. And so when I share stories and other people see somebody in the struggle you were in or the journey, it's just like, oh wow, it just normalizes being human and vulnerable and not like all the Photoshop version that we see the bullshit influencers do, right? So I'm like, let's just get real. Let's be real, share the truth, and we're all good.
I love that. I love shame buster,
Oh, I'm such a shame buster. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I say that with my clients, like, welcome to being human. And I'm not trying to be sarcastic, but because I think when we're in our stuff, we feel like we're the only one.
We're the only ones, 100%. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And you said something, I was asking you about, like, because we're all human.
Yeah.
And we have these businesses that we love, and then
Yes.
life happens, right?
Yes.
Like kids and stuff. And
Yes. Yes.
and I love what I said, how do you get yourself back in, or how do you self-care? And you said, I search for joy.
Joy, freaking joy. Yeah, because like last year was a really hard year for me. I was sick with COVID. My dog died. I had surgery. My son was like, it was like sucked. It just sucked. And I also know that I have the ability to focus on what I want to create more of. And so in the old days, Elaine, I was, I came from a lot of proving energy. Like, can I do everything for you?
What do you mean?
I'm it, right? Like, my God, I was a therapist. Of course, I'm taking care of the world, right? And so I was all about giving until I kind of burned out from that.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, no, mama doesn't work on the weekends. Like, no. And I really understand filling my cup. I really understand, like, I'm no value if I'm depleted. So on the weekends, I have like a sexy AF boyfriend. Can we just say it? And he's younger. Hello, I'm cougaring, baby. So I have this like super hot, amazing, wonderful boyfriend who is a motorcycle. Yes, living the dream. And so we just like go on motorcycle rides and I just have all the fun. And I'm so intentional about, like, I'm like ruthless about my time. Like, not doing that. Because I understand I have to have joy. I have to like fill up. I want to walk around the world. Like, I don't mean to say that in a shitty way. I didn't have a bad pandemic. And I know there was a lot of suffering, and I'm not demeaning, but I know what do I have available? Like, Scott and I would take the motorcycle out and we would just literally get White Claws, and we would like be sitting in the desert just going, fuck it. So everything's closed, but we're going to have a picnic. Right. So I really work hard on not letting the outer circumstances define me. I'm really like, nope, I can choose in any moment.
I love that. I love that so much. And I think, you came to this, like you didn't just roll out of bed, right? Like,
what? I was born like this. What are you speaking about, you weirdo? No, I have come to this. It's just,
I just love that you gave yourself permission. Like, I have given and given and given.
Yes.
Because, that's how people have the burnout. That's how people get, chronic fatigue and all the other crazy lose no adrenals and all that stuff.
Yes.
So I love that you just go have fun with your sexy boyfriend.
I do.
Woo!
Yeah. And there might be some drinking whiskey involved. What? Yeah. Scott said, you're really fun now that I pulled the stick out of your ass. Because when he first met me, I know this is my friend. When he first met me, I had just been dumped. I was so like traumatized from, I had lived with an alcoholic husband, and I'm like, oh, and now I'm like, what? So it's the life is meant to be lived with joy. And again, hard stuff happens. You don't even know the stuff I've gone through. It has been really hard, and I can rise above it. And there are days that I can't. Some days, I'm not all like Mary Sunshine. I'm like, oh, I'm just couch surfing today. So I'm the both, but it's a conscious choice. I literally have a shirt that says, choose joy. Like, it's so important to me. And we are in charge of ourselves for that. We can't like, make me happy, give me something. It's just like, okay, what can I look at today that would,
lift me up. I love that.
Yeah.
And I also think sometimes we struggle, or I know I do, of like, if I'm choosing joy and magic and fun, does it mean I don't care about what's happening?
Exactly.
No, I deeply care, and I send money to certain charities. I donate my time, and I do give back in lots of ways.
Right.
And I know that I'm the best version of me when I'm filling
That's it.
myself up too. And for me, you know, I'm 50, I'm still navigating all of that. It still feels like sometimes. And
Yeah.
and you know, like I tell my clients and my sexy boyfriend, like, do not start your day and end your day with the news. Now,
Oh,
does it,
right. Yeah.
but like, you know, we get to choose. And I think it's so easy to fall into habits, right? Like every once in a while I drive and I have nothing on, and it's
Oh yeah, I do that all the time.
such
Yeah.
a great experience, you know. And like I got to go on this amazing sexy trip in Portugal, and it was such a lesson in peace and just slowing the heck down,
Yeah.
you know. And you know, I think that's one of the themes from today. Bobby was talking about pause, the power of pause.
Yeah. So much so. Yes. Yes.
Love that, Therese. So tell us more about, so you're an intuitive, where else, so you find joy on the weekends, and then when you're working with people, do you use humor in your
I'm at this age. So here's what I say, right? I say I'm reverent and irreverent. So I might say the word fuck and then pray in the next moment, right? And I like that. And in the old days, I will tell you, like, because I have a little bit of potty mouth, right? Let me back up. My number one value is to be boldly self-expressed, because I came from a very shaming, toxic environment where I felt like I had, you know, live in a box, look the role, look the part. And I lived a lot of years suppressing myself. And when I blasted out, I'm like, hey, bitches. Right? So it really, really, really is important to me. And it's funny because I raised my children to be very boldly self-expressed, and then and then and when they boldly self-express themselves, I'm like, yeah, right. And but it is so important to me to be what, and so this is the gift I give my clients. Like, who do you want to be? Like, screw the conventional rules. It doesn't matter what Russell Brunson and the fucking funnels say. Stop that. Stop listening. Like, listen to your soul. Listen to what your truth is, what wants to be expressed from you. So to me, that expression thing, and you know, in the old days, I'd be on a talk and I'd say, shit, oh, I'm sorry. And then I'm like, stop apologizing. This is who I am. Take it or leave it. You're going to love it or you're going to go away. Bye-bye. But the people, I've actually had clients say to me, I hire you because you say the F word. I'm like, yeah, sister. Because there's so much pretense. Rhonda's like, yeah, babies. My sassy sisters, let's go. Because there's so much in the internet space, so much fakeness. There's so much, I have to be professional. What is even that, right? So the way I use humor is I'm just playful. You can tell I'm irreverent. I'm a little playful. I'm just silly. Like, I run groups. I love running groups. I've got a beautiful, like, a community, like a membership community. And I just had a call now, and I'm just fun and playful. I'm a little wacky, and right. Instead of like, oh, I'm sorry, I have to do this to you. Let me do you. What is that? Right. So it's very much a co-creative, and I use humor a lot. Like, I can kick you in the head, meaning confront, challenge, and you're like, oh, I know she loves me. Because I do. Like, that's how I get away with it, right? I can be so fierce. It's done with no shame, with holding you the highest and best, and playful, being just playful. So that's how I use it. And people literally, I can say anything to my clients because they know they are loved.
I love it. I love it. Like, it's about the safe space.
A safe space. Absolutely. Yeah.
I was a huge fan of Louise Hay. And got to meet her and see her live.
Oh,
it was, you know, such a highlight. I have this picture on my desk, and you know, one of the things she would say often was, can we lighten up about our healing? Can we lighten up? And you know, and I think I just love that so much, because I know I've been so like, I have to heal, I have to learn myself, and now I'm gonna work on my business, you know. And
I will tell you, so last year I had a really shitty year, right? Dog got killed, beloved soulmate dog. Like, I used to say to boyfriend, you know you're the love of my life. And he's like, really? I thought Finley was. And I'm like,
Finley, I know.
Oh, yeah, right. And so Finley got killed, got super sick, like 8 months, bad COVID, struggling. And then things get better. And I had an injury. My other dog broke my hand very severely. And I now have, I couldn't use my hand, left-handed, screws in my finger. And literally when that happened, I'm like, really, really, like what?
Right.
What is even this? And it was so fascinating because I was miserable and I was terrified. And I was like, how much more can a girl take? Like really, 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 really. And that wasn't a moment of me being light and humorous. That was a moment of screaming and yelling and sobbing and then understanding like, oh, I'm not just a victim here. And I got a lot of healing. Strangely, there's past life things. When you have chronic injuries, look at the past life thing. Look at the things that happened in other times. And so I just had to sit, Elaine, for months. So this happened in September, and I can't write, can't type, can't use my hand. And guidance says, you're just not gonna work till February. I'm like, what? And I had to sit there and just be like, who am I without me being bright and bubbly and creating and fun and funny and helping, supporting, teaching, training, I love all that. Who am I without it? I got stripped away of all the things that defined me, my ability to make money. I saw a few clients, but I did no marketing. My income just plummeted because I was literally like, you have to pause. It was a hard pause. And what I determined is that I'm love. I'm just love. It doesn't matter who I'm serving, what I'm doing, what my income is. And I got that. So I literally had to peel off like, God, and I didn't know. I'm like, oh shit, I'm really tied into this identity of being a high achiever and a performer and a helper and a la 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 la. And and so that for me is when I understand the depth of who I am, then I can be all the other things out here. But when we are tied to, oh, this is a definition of me, when it gets rigid like that, right? And I don't even know how I got on this track, but it seemed like a story that needed to be told.
I love it. Thank you. I thank you for being so vulnerable.
Yeah.
And it makes me think of, Noreen and I talk about this, Stephen Pressfield, who wrote The War of Art, which is not to be confused with The Art of War. It's kind of like The Artist's Way on steroids. And he talks a lot about resistance, and I highly recommend it for everybody. You can do it one page at a time. You can put it in your bathroom. It's like one page, and there's so much, but I wish to God, because that identity piece can be so strong. And for so long, I was so attached to actress, and I was not able to be objective about many, many, many things. And I think that we all go through periods of that. And I love that. And, the difference between a professional and an amateur is, sometimes having a little bit of distance and detaching with love. And so anyway, that made me think of that. And I just love too, because to me, that's scary, right? It's scary to like have a chronic thing. Your dang dog did it. You lost your other dog, like, oh my God.
It was rough. Yeah.
And but I hear a sense of humor through it all. And like, are you kidding? Like,
oh my God. Yeah. Well, and because I don't want to come on here like, oh, I'm always happy. It's in finding those, everything is an opportunity for healing. Everything is opportunity for your soul expansion. Like when I was doing this, I did so much therapies. And I was working with her. It's a body talk practitioner. I don't know if you know all that. It's a physical thing, right? I'm laying on the table and she's like, oh, in 3 weeks, you're going to feel different. And I'm like, oh, fuck off. like basically students were kind of like, oh, it's going to be so good. And I just looked at her like, I could stab you in the head right now. Are you freaking, because I was in the victim. I can't believe this happened. This is so horrible. And in 3 weeks, I'm like, oh my God, I feel so different. I understand, right? Like, because I had figured out some of the pieces, and then it's just surrendering. And it's really funny when you're like trying to run a business doing, voice text on Google, trying to send messages. It's like, and then we don't even talk about the hair or the makeup or the like, whatever, because when your dominant hand isn't working, it's just like, and then having sex with the like, wait, so, there was a lot of like, oh yeah, so it's just finding like living it all honoring all the feelings and also choosing to find something else. Also, it is happening, that like, it did happen for me. It absolutely, because if you would have told me in September, hi, Sunshine, yeah, just gonna take off 5 months. Just Ted Lasso's fabulous. Do all the things. You're good. And eat gluten-free cookies. Those are good too, right? I would have like, and it was so good to understand. I'm not, because I was wired like a lot of women are. I am who I help. I am what I produce. I'm what I create. And to be like, there's more. What a
Wow.
beautiful opportunity, right? And I've gone on to, I'm like like it literally was a year ago. A year ago, I couldn't even move. And so a year ago, and now I'm like, look at who I am today. Holy shit. Because I went through it all. I mined all of it. I didn't just feel victimized. I didn't just get stuck in anger, which I could have been. Do you know how many injuries I've had with this hand? What? Crazy. And I mined it all. And so it's just doing the work and like listening to what's next, what else is available.
Wow. I love that. I love that you went through it, and it like I had this we found like this really big cyst on my spleen, and I had gone through all this stuff with my real estate. And I remember going to the doctor was like, we have to, like, this is the biggest cyst I've ever seen. Like, we have to,
yes.
Went from being very nonchalant to like, oh my God. And I was like, well, is it cancer? And he was like, not yet. And I was doing back-to-back conferences. And if you back out of the conferences, you don't get asked back. You work really hard to get them. And comedy gigs. So I remember like, and I was like, oh, what is it, like a day? And he was like 2 weeks. And at the time I was like, 2 weeks. And it was actually a huge gift. And I got through all my conferences. And then on January 2nd, I had this huge thing. And I remember it was such a gift, but woo, it was a big, it's all such a lesson when we can remember that. I love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom. And if people want to know more, Rhonda Rhodes, I didn't think about the sex component. Well, does anybody have questions for Teresa
ask
about
questions.
her work, podcast? We've got some great speakers. If you know other people if you ever need guests, but I'm sure you probably work with your clients on it. But does anybody have questions or thoughts for Therese about her fabulous intuitive? I love that you combine so much of your life experience with therapy and the business intuition. And it doesn't have to be a question, it can be a comment. I know it's the afternoon, so people may just be like, whoa, there's been so much. Wendy says, I love Teresa's personality. Do you speak on stages or do you mostly coaching?
Wendy, I'd love to speak on stages. I haven't been doing that lately because of COVID, but I would love to, and I'd love to get back. And it's one of my most fun things to do. What a surprise, right? That's how I use humor. So one thing here's one little way I do, because I play the extrovert card, right? Well, I'm an extrovert, and I'll say something, and if the audience doesn't respond, I'm like, excuse me, I'm an extrovert. I'm sorry, that's not going to fly with me. I need amen, preach a sister, hallelujah, go. And so I literally have a whole audience going, hallelujah. And I'm like, come on, keep going. And I literally get them. and so it's fun, right? So I have a lot of speaker training, and I've learned how to utilize so much play with speaking. It's especially when an audience is lagging, like you're like, oh, I'm losing them. I will call it like, wow, am I boring you? Okay, well, okay. You're like, I always teach like lean in, call the dynamics out, call it, just say what it is, instead of like, oh shit, I'm gonna do something. So I have so much fun on like in groups and live audiences.
I love that. And I hope that every single person just soaked that in. And if you're listening to the recording or whatever, like that was gold, what she was dropping, like, in a comedy club, if somebody drops the tray of drinks, you want to acknowledge it. You don't want to just step over it.
Right.
So, and I love that. And it takes balls to, I need a better analogy, to be like, hey, hello, I need more.
Oh, I do. And again, that's when you have a plate, and even this, I've demonstrated I can be super fun and light, playful, and then I can be really serious and soulful.
Right.
And So that's the all of it, right? Because if I just was like, I wouldn't get taken as seriously, right? So it's the I have a super soulful message. I can connect really deeply, and woo, like we can be playful. So it's utilizing all of it. I think that makes it a more like captivating. Can we use your word? Captivating, baby.
Yes, and we want levels. You know,
Yes.
I like to watch comedy when I'm putting makeup on, and so Stephen Colbert had the guy who was Obama's speechwriter for like 8 years.
Okay.
And he was like, I'm gonna do the best State of the Union speech ever. And he like worked on it, and he got him to it eight days early, which is like unheard of. And so, you know, and he's like waiting, and Obama's like, he finally calls him in and he's like, I need jazz. I need it's so profound. It's like I would be just beating people over the head because I need everything's at a 10.
Exactly.
And I thought, go watch that. It's brilliant. And it's like Les Miserables, one of my favorite musicals of all time. It's like heavy, it's dark, it's dramatic, but they have these master of the house. You know, the audience, we gotta laugh.
You gotta break. Yeah, absolutely. Right. Yeah.
I love that, Therese. Well, thank you so much. And if people want to know more about you, I know we have the chat, we have the links in the chat, but tell us about your free gift or how else we can find you. And, you know.
So my free gift is, you like this? It's basically I really am connected to the soul, right? And the hypothesis is if you have a soul, your business has a soul. And most of us just try to get information from either the latest, greatest marketing guru or our head. And what if you could access your soul? It's a beautiful, like 20-minute guided meditation with like a worksheet. And it just asks questions of like, what's next? Who are my people? Like, it's just a really beautiful exercise. So do that. Find me on Facebook. You can see pictures of sexy boyfriend on Facebook, not my business page, my personal page. Do that and just reach out. I'm super approachable. Reach out. I would love to connect with you.
Awesome. And she has a great podcast, Fiercely Brilliant. And let's all thank Therese.
Thank you. Lots of love. Thanks so much, gang. Bye.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming. Love you, sister. Oh, that was awesome.